Part 8. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 71. Boom. With a kick to the chest, this root jounin was instantly kicked out by Ryosuke Yagami. Just for a moment. Ryosuke Yagami pulled away and returned to the original place. The three root jounin who rushed up from the opposite side had no wounds on their bodies except for one Konoha who looked at his curled blade in surprise. The other two are already miserable. Especially the one whose hands were kicked to pieces by Ryosuke Yagami. He screamed and rolled on the ground in agony. System, if the original owner of the biopheromone I collected dies, can the biopheromone I collected before still be used? Ryosuke Yagami suddenly asked the system in his mind. He had been thinking about this question just now. These root jounins in front of him, as well as the members of the Hyuga branch, are undoubtedly good transformation targets. If they are killed like this, then it's a pity that the talent entries on them can't be converted. But if you don't kill them, that won't work. Ryosuke Yagami was thinking that the biological pheromones required by the system must be obtained from living people. So if he first taking it from a person and then killing that person, does that still count? As long as the biopheromone is obtained from a living target, it can be effectively transformed regardless of whether the living target needs it later. The system quickly responded. That's it, that's good. Ryosuke Yagami nodded, very satisfied with this answer. In this case, in the future, he only needs to obtain biopheromone from the living target, and then whether the person dies or not will have nothing to do with him. Anyway, one person can only convert once. It doesn't matter if 2, 4, 3 died. After knowing this situation, things will be much easier to handle. In the moment of the fight, Yagami Ryosuke had already obtained their biological pheromones from the three root jounin on the opposite side. This it has been stored in the system's biopheromone warehouse for a while. The only remaining ones are Hinata Tsuji, the elite jounin of the Hyuga branch. In fact, this guy is Ryosuke Yagami's real target. Those three, the root jounin is just an addition at most. As for the two root ninjas with special jounin strength, Yagami Ryosuke didn't think much of them. Moreover, he killed them too fast just now, and he didn't have time to take them first. Take away their biopheromone. This Yagami Ryosuke felt that he had to reflect on it. No matter what happens in the future, he must at least obtain a sample of the biopheromone from the other party. Then he can kill and cut into pieces as he pleases. Sorry, what did you just say? What else do I need to learn? Ryosuke Yagami said to Hinata Tsuji opposite with a smile. Hinata Tsuji. What the hell are you, what kind of monster are you? At the age of 12, one person faced off against two official jounin? Even Hatake Kakashi back then was not so awesome. At this moment, Hinata Tsuji was already a little panicked. He suddenly realized that things seemed to be completely out of his control. The opponent's strength is not at all what they thought. It's even stronger than what he just thought. With this kind of taijutsu, even if you are one of the elite taijutsu type jounin in the village, you can do nothing more than that. But the problem is, Ryosuke Yagami is just a 12-year-old child. Hinata Nikage thought about what strength he had when he was 12 years old. He was also a genius in the ninja school back then. With excellent results, he graduated from the ninja school early at the age of 10, was promoted to Chuyunin at the age of 12, and became an official jounin at the age of 18. Hinata Nikage has always thought that he is a genius. Even Hyuga Niji, who was praised by many people in his family, in Hinata Nikage's view, his talent was not as good as his own. He became an elite jounin at the age of 27 and has performed thousands of missions, large and small. There are many S-level missions among them. However, this talent is compared to Ryosuke Yagami in front of him. It doesn't even count. How the hell do you compare to a 12-year-old elite jounin? But fortunately, Hinata Nikage still has helpers here, and they have already arrived. Thinking to himself, Hinata Chuji's eyes also looked to the right and back. There are three figures coming towards the side quickly. A few seconds later, three figures landed on the open space. As soon as Abarame came to take the route, she saw the two root jounin on the ground who were screaming that life would be worse than death, and she couldn't help but frowned. As one of Danzo's right-hand men, Abarame's root is different from ordinary root ninjas. He has his own thoughts, but he respects and admires Danzo from the bottom of his heart, and is willing to sacrifice his life for Danzo. This time, Danzo personally gave him the task and asked him to do it. Originally, Abarame had already made sufficient preparations considering that Ryosuke Yagamai was a civilian genius valued by Hiruzen Sarutobi. Just now, he took the other two root jounin with him to deal with the other three members of Team 7. At this time, the three of them, Blacktooth, had been knocked unconscious and tied up. Make sure they don't go looking for other Umbu members to come and support them. Coupled with the fact that no one knew that Hinata Chuachu had taken refuge with Danzo, this should have been a foolproof move. But now, things seem to have happened unpredictably. How is this going? Abarame Takejin looked at Hinata Chuji and asked. Your information is wrong. Ryosuke Yagamai is not a Chuyunin at all, but has the strength of an elite Jonin level. He is a little monster. Hinata Nikage said with a tone full of dissatisfaction. If the intelligence at the root was not wrong, he would not have brought his people over with confidence to intercept Ryosuke Yagamai just now. Fortunately, he did not take action himself just now. Otherwise, he would have been careless. Next time, maybe it will actually capsize in the gutter. Elite Jounin? Are you talking about this kid? Abaro Torai looked at Hinata Nikatsuji with an expression of disbelief, and then looked at Ryosuke Yagamai who was looking at them with a smile. This kid? Why don't you seem nervous at all? Who are you, oil girl taking root? At this time, Yuyuki Zian on the side suddenly looked at Abarame taking root and asked. Oh. You know me? Abarame Tajin looked at her. Uzuki Zian nodded and said in the ninja school, I was one level older than you. At that time, I often saw you sitting alone in the corner of the school playground. Hearing this, Abarame Takejin also laughed at herself and said, What, think I'm pitiful? Yuyuzian opened her mouth, not knowing how to answer this question, because she really felt that Abarame Takajan was quite pitiful at that time. Don't pity me, because I have found my purpose in life. Now, Danzo-sama's will is my will, so I will definitely complete whatever Danzo-sama orders. Abarame Tajin glanced at Yuyuki Zian. He had seen the other person's eyes countless times and had long been accustomed to it. Sympathy. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. He doesn't need it. What he wants is recognition and belief. And Danzo-sama is his belief. Oil girl takes root, phosphorus bad insect. Ryosuke Yagamai has also heard of Abaramatsun. The taciturn Abarame Shino in their class is the same race as him. Ryosuke Yagamai also heard Shino Abarame occasionally mention the term Abaramatsun. Name. Moreover, according to Shino, the opponent has a very special ability even among the Abarame clan. Generally, the bugs controlled by the Abarame clan are just ordinary parasitic bugs. But the Abarame clan is different. The Abarame clan has a different ability. They are all highly poisonous parasitic insects. The lethality of the parasitic insects is much greater than that of ordinary parasitic insects, so much so that even the Abarame root cannot control them 100%, and they will accidentally injure people around them from time to time. This also led to the fact that Abaramatsun had no friends from childhood. Everyone would stay away from him. They thought he was a monster. This treatment is somewhat similar to Naruto, but Naruto is worse than Abaramatsun. Tragic, at least Abaramatsun was only ostracized by others, but Naruto would also be insulted and even had stones thrown at him. Unlike Naruto's positive and upbeat personality, Aburame-tun was a very taciturn person. In Uzuki Zen's memory, he almost never heard the other party speak. And since graduating from the ninja school, he has completely disappeared from the sight of people around him. Very few people know where Aburame took her roots. I'm afraid there are only the top brass of the Aburame clan will know that he was sent away by Danzo. Although Aburame took the root at a younger age than Uzuki Yojeo, his strength far exceeded that of Uzuki Yojeo. The special phosphorus bugs lodged in Zero's body give him terrifying lethality. Even just contact is enough to kill someone. This is a pretty tough guy to deal with. His strength is extremely strong even among elite jounin. In addition, Hyuga Chutsu, a ninja from the Hyuga clan who is also an elite jounin. Even some ninjas with quasi-cage level strength have to be careful when encountering the two of them. If one of them is not good, the boat may capsize in the gutter. Ryusuke, the phosphorus bug that Aburame took from its roots is highly poisonous. Even just contact with it is enough to kill people. You must be careful. Uzuki Yogan also knew at this time that she couldn't help at all. Her strength couldn't even beat any root jounin on the other side, let alone help Yagami Ryusuke deal with Aburame Torin and Hinata Chutsu. Elite jounin. So she could only provide Yagami Ryusuke with some information so that he could be mentally prepared when fighting. Don't worry, Sister Zen. Yagami Ryusuke said with a smile. However, if there is a fight later, Sister Zen, you'd better stay away. After all, the aftermath of the battle may be a bit wide in scope for a while. Uzuki Zen nodded, and then told him to be careful, and then retreated towards the rear. When Uzuki Zen walked far away, Yagami Ryusuke looked at the people opposite and said, "Okay, now you still have to wait. Any last words?" Aburame Torai looked at him coldly. He waved his hand, the two Nijounin beside him instantly dispersed and attacked Yagami Ryusuke from the left and right directions. At the same time, he himself also took action with Hinata Nakaji. One after another, Yagami Ryusuke was surrounded in the middle. "It seems there is no more," Ryusuke Yagami said with a slight smile. The next second, he quickly formed seals with his hands. Fire escape. Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique. Dozens of huge fireballs were blown out of Ryusuke Yagami's mouth. Each fireball was ridiculously big. With a diameter of more than 4 meters, it was even bigger than the Go Fireball. Is this the Phoenix Immortal Fire Technique? The root ninjas on the opposite side couldn't help but widen their eyes. Boom! There was a loud noise, and a huge fireball hit the ground, making a violent explosion. Large flames spread. Several root ninjas were frightened and immediately used ninjutsu to resist. Water escape. Water formation wall. Wind escape. Pressure. Hey! There is a wind escape that has never been copied before. Ryusuke Yagami noticed the ninjutsu performed by one of the root jounin, and immediately copied it with his Sharingan. The next second, huge fireballs hit on the water formation wall. The high temperature and explosion directly evaporated a large area of water curtain. The root jounin behind the water formation wall 3.2 turned pale and pulled away, watching helplessly as fireballs broke through the barrier of the water formation wall, blasting at the position where he originally stood. Large craters with a diameter of 5 to 6 meters were blown out of the ground in an instant. Is this the damage caused by sea level fire escape? Several root jounin even wondered if they had seen it wrong. Actually, this is not the Phoenix Fire Technique at all, but another A fire escape ninjutsu that is similar to the Phoenix Fire Release Jutsu. No. Normal A fire escape ninjutsu doesn't seem to have such power, right? This is almost as powerful as S level. The destructive power of ninjutsu. Amid the massive explosion, Yagami Ryusuke, who was standing on the spot, suddenly fell to the ground, twitching all over and even foaming at the mouth. There are powerful ninjutsu, but it's useless if you don't know how to use them. A Barame Torai appeared behind Yagami Ryusuke at some unknown time. He looked down at Yagami Ryusuke, who was twitching on the ground, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Take the roots, be careful." At this moment, Hinata Chuji, who was on the other side using the Bagua air palm to blast the fireball, suddenly discovered something and shouted loudly. "What a pity!" Hinata Chuji was still a step late. Just when Abarame Takejin thought she had succeeded, when another Yagami Ryusuke suddenly emerged from the ground and slashed his arm with a knife. Swipe! Abarame took the root and instantly turned into a cloud of insects to escape. And Yagami Ryusuke did not pursuing, instead, he collected a drop of blood on the blade. "Got the first one." Ryusuke Yagami smiled. "Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries." Author, MRMO. Chapter 72. After the insect cloud condensed and formed, Abarame looked down at a small wound on her arm, and subconsciously pursed her lips. Then, nanoscale phosphorus bugs invisible to the naked eye clung to the wound, forming a layer of insect beetles covered the wound. The wound is not big, basically nothing serious. But what puzzled Abarame Takejin? Ryusuke Yagami seemed very happy. "It's so baffling." Bagua. Empty palm. Boom. A violent palm wind struck. Yagami Ryusuke's body was instantly blasted into pieces. But all that was broken in the sky was just a large piece of sawdust. Hinata Nakaji turned around instantly, and a Bagua diagram appeared under his feet, and there was something between his palms. A strong surge of chakra, as he waved his palms, blasted towards Ryusuke Yagami, who appeared behind him. Bagua. 128 palms. Countless palm shadows instantly enveloped Yagami Ryusuke's body. All the angles he could dodge were blocked by the palm shadows, leaving him no room to dodge. "Can't dodge? Then don't dodge." Konoha whirlwind. Strong wind in Konoha. Ryusuke Yagami simply used taijutsu to fight Hinata Nakaji's Bagwazang. The opponent's palm struck him, but other than revealing that the chakra in his body sealed his acupuncture points, it did not cause any other damage. Bagwazang. Return to heaven. After 128 palm strikes, Hinata Chuji instantly switched back to the sky, spinning to block Yagami Ryusuke's attack. "Ryusuke Yagami, you're done. The chakra in your body has been sealed by me with Bagwazang. Can you still mobilize the chakra now?" Hinata Nakaji said proudly. "Sealed?" Yagami Ryusuke smiled disdainfully and said, "Is this called sealing death?" The next second, a chakra that was dozens of times greater than before erupted from Yagami Ryusuke's body. Boom! Chakra visible to the naked eye burst out from every pore of Yagami Ryusuke's body, like a flame, burning all over his body. Boom! The ground around him was cracked by the force of this chakra. Hinata 30 Chuuke, who bore the brunt, was directly thrown away more than 10 meters before he turned over and landed. Ryusuke Yagami looked in front of him with a horrified expression. "This chakra? No. How can this be?" In Hinata Chuji's sight, the chakra in Ryusuke Yagami's body directly increased by about 100 times. If before, the chakra in Ryusuke Yagami's body only exceeded that of some elite jonin, then now Ryusuke Yagami's chakra, the chakra in the medium's body, is 20 to 30 times more than the chakra in the body of a shadow-level expert. Such a huge amount of chakra has not been seen by Hinata Chuji in addition to the tailed beasts and Jinchuriki. It's normal. He has never seen a ninja, not even a shadow from a village. In fact, Ryusuke Yagami's basic chakra has already reached the level of an ordinary shadow. In addition, the 35 times bonus of the talent entry. The chakra is a lot more than that of Uzumaki Naruto, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Naruto's current chakra is 120 calories. But Yagami Ryusuke's chakra has reached about 350 calories. So the huge chakra, even the pressure caused by a simple chakra explosion, is enough to scare people to death. At this time, not only Hinata Chuji was frightened. Even the ninjas like Abarame who took the route were frightened. Turning pale. This kid, what happened? Why is his chakra so much larger than that of the nine-tailed imp? These basic ninjas can't understand at all. Why does a normal ninja have more chakra than the nine-tails Jinhyuriki? This is completely unreasonable. Reasonable. What is reasonable for a cheating player? Knight Kami Ryosuke said that he had never heard of this term at all. At this time, Yagami Ryosuke, whose chakra had completely exploded, also looked at these rude ninjas in front of him with cold eyes. Ninja technique. The art of multiple shadow clones. Bang. The surrounding white smoke dispersed, revealing a dozen shadow clones of Ryosuke Yagami, surrounding these people. The next second. Wind escape. Big breakthrough. Abarame Torin and others had question marks on their faces. A big breakthrough? You still want to use a sea-level wind release to kill a group of our elite ninjas who are at least Jounin? However, the next second, Abarame Torin and others knew my idea was completely wrong. Who said that the great breakthrough could not kill people? A dozen shadow clones used the great breakthrough at the same time, and the violent wind instantly ravaged the area like a level 18 typhoon passing through. Abarame Takejin and others, the person was directly thrown away by the strong wind. The defensive ninjutsu he used was completely useless. Even if Hinata Chuji used Kaiten again, this so-called absolute defense was instantly broken, and he was directly blown away and crushed in an embarrassing manner. The sky was filled with blood. Ryosuke Yagami also took the opportunity to collect the biopheromone of each of them. Done. He put away these biopheromones, and then looked at the forest that had been ravaged by the great breakthrough. A large area of trees had been cleared. The ground looked like a field that had been turned over. And the roots of the ninjas were also lying on the ground dying. Only two elite Jounin, Hinata Chuji and Abarame Takejin, could barely stand. Just gravel, not half as good as me. Ryosuke Yagami felt that Madara's words were very suitable to describe the current situation. The root ninjas on the opposite side were indeed not even half as good as him. He only made a slight move, but most of them were already lying down. The difference in strength was too big. Even though Ryosuke Yagami has exposed many of his inexperiences in the battle, these still cannot erase the huge strength gap between the two sides. And now, the biopheromone has been obtained. Ryosuke Yagami also plans to end this fight fought. Give you a gorgeous funeral. Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. Then he stretched out his hand, and an orange-red spinning explosive raisin condensed and formed in his palm. The explosive raisin looked like it was no bigger than a head. But the destructive power contained in it, however, the expressions of Hyagachuji and Abarame Takejin suddenly changed. Run. Without any hesitation, the two people directly chose to turn around and run away. They couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat them at all. At this moment, even the extremely admiring team in their hearts, the hidden Abarame Takejin, has no intention of continuing this mission. What is there to continue with a mission that is bound to fail? Come and experience the gorgeous funeral I give you. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Ryosuke Yagami instantly dodged into the air, and threw the explosive raisin in his hand forcefully. In an instant, a brilliant orange-red tail flashed in the sky. Like a meteor falling to the ground. First, a dazzling light illuminated the entire forest. Even Mao Yuzian, who was already 5 or 6 kilometers away from here, saw a small sun rising over there. The next second, the exploding fireball began to expand as if it were swallowing everything. It expanded to a size of thousands of meters in diameter, and then the fireball collapsed and began to deform. Boom! The violent shockwave immediately swept across all directions, destroying everything along the way. Everything. Trees, rocks, and soil were instantly burned to ashes by the scorching heat, and then swept up into the sky by the shock wave. In the distance, Mao Yuzian opened her mouth wide, looking at a huge mushroom rising over there in disbelief. She even forgot to continue running away. 10 seconds later, boom! A shock wave swept through the area where Yukizian was. The big tree was uprooted. Yukizian was tumbling directly in the air, rolling for more than a dozen times. After circling around, he was caught by a pair of strong arms and landed firmly on the cleared forest floor. Sister Zian, are you okay? Yagami. Ryusuke put down Uzuki Yogan and asked. Uzuki Zian shook his head in a daze. Then he looked over there, and then at Yagami Ryusuke in front of him. That is, you did it? She asked hesitantly. Ryusuke Yagami smiled and nodded, yes, I just perfected a ninjutsu some time ago, which is a little more powerful. A little bit big? You call this a little bit big? I was 5 or 6 kilometers away from it, and it ended up flying into the sky. If your ninjutsu is used in a densely populated city, it doesn't have to be done on the spot. Burn the whole city to the ground. Ryusuke, are you really only 12 years old? Uzuki Zian looked at Ryusuke Yagami in front of her as if she were looking at an alien. Is this a ninjutsu that a normal ninja can use? Ninjas shouldn't be fighting hand to hand, competing for wisdom and tactics. Is it a profession that gives enemies a one-hit kill in an unexpected way? When did ninjas start carrying out such large-scale terrorist attacks? Uzuki Zian looked at the mess around him. It is hard to imagine such destructive power. It turned out to be just a ninjutsu. Are you sure it's not a natural disaster? The tailed beast's tailed beast jade is nothing more than that, right? Uzuki Zian even thinks that even the tailed beast jade does not have such terrifying destructive power. Kami Ryusuke looked at Uzuki Zian's expression of shock and doubt of life, and couldn't help but laugh and said, okay, this ninjutsu is indeed a bit more powerful. Sister Zian, you weren't scared, were you? No, I was already frightened. Uzuki Zian said in a dumbfounded voice. Ryusuke, no wonder you told me to stay away before, but now I completely understand. Isn't that right? With this scope of destruction, as long as anyone gets closer, people will disappear. Uzuki Zian can imagine at this moment that those ninjas at the root, including Hinata Nakaji, the captain of the Umbu, well, I'm afraid that not even a piece of fingernail can be preserved, right? In fact, this is indeed the case. The explosive rays non that Yagami Ryusuke further improved can not only be thrown out for long-distance attacks, but is even more powerful than it was also much larger at the beginning. The fireball formed by the explosion was enough to swallow an area with a diameter of 1 kilometer. The internal temperature could reach tens of thousands of degrees Celsius. No matter how powerful the ninja was, as long as he was within this range, he would almost be dead. Unless you can drive Gundam 477. That's another story. But you will definitely be extremely embarrassed, and even injured are normal. And for ninjas who can't drive Gundam, faced with this level of ninjutsu, either escape in advance far away, either you know the space and time ninjutsu, or, just wait to die. At least it can save some energy to escape. I can't run away anyway. For this explosive raise non-move, Yagami Ryusuke felt that even if it was called a mushroom growing technique, it would be perfect. Look at the huge mushroom cloud over there that hasn't dissipated yet. Isn't it just a huge mushroom planted on the ground? Nothing wrong at all. Sister Zian, regarding my ninjutsu, it's best not to tell the third person besides you and me. I'm afraid it will scare them. Wild Ryusuke said. After hearing this, Uzuki Zian also looked at him with complicated eyes, and then nodded. Ryusuke, I don't know why you want to hide your strength, but I promise you that you won't tell anyone what happened today. After hearing Uzuki Zian's serious words, Yagami Ryusuke also said, when the time is right, I will tell Sister Zien everything about you. I just hope that Sister Zien will not be scared by then. That's good. Hearing this, Mao Yuzian laughed and said, I've been scared by you, but if you want to scare me again, it won't be that easy. That's right. Everything that happened today really shattered Uzuki Zien's outlook. First, the ninjas in the village came to ambush Yagami Ryusuke, and even the captain of their second team was involved. This made Uzuki Zien realize for the first time that there was much more darkness in the village than she had ever seen before. In other words, she had never really understood the darkness in the village in the past. And the squad leader would actually do such a thing. Uzuki Yojeo couldn't help but wonder if he made the right decision to join This is one of the reasons why Uzuki Yojeo agreed to Yagami Ryusuke to help him hide his strength. 1. Because she can understand Ryusuke Yagami's current situation. If it were her, she would also choose to hide her true strength. Not to let anyone know. And Ryusuke Yagami chose to tell her all this, he is a sign of trust in her. This makes Uzuki Zien quite happy. Being able to be trusted by Yagami Ryusuke. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 73. Here, in the end, what happened? A team of ninja looked at the huge pit in front of them in shock. The diameter of the pit was almost 1 kilometer, and the bottom was nearly 100 meters away from the ground. And everything in a large area around it was destroyed. Looking from a distance, the traces of trees can only be seen from further away. These ninjas had dispersed before and went to the final target members in other directions. At this time, they were attracted by the huge explosions here and came to check the situation. As a result, when they arrived here, what they saw was the situation. Their 3 views were shattered on the spot. Captain, is this caused by a meteorite? An ninja asked. The captain standing in front shook his head and said that he didn't know if it was a meteorite. After all, there was no meteorite in the pit. Of course. This does not rule out that someone has arrived here before them. And took away the possibility of the meteorites in it. Look around and see if there are any clues. The captain ordered. Immediately, several members spread out to look for possible clues. Murata Town. This is a small town in the northeast of the country of fire, close to the country of iron. The town is not big. With a population of about 6,000 to 7,000 people. The most famous one is the Murata hot spring in the town. The name of Murata town comes from this. Ryusuke Yagami and Yojeo Uzuki did not return immediately after leaving there. Joining up with other ninjas, she instead chose to continue heading north and arrived at the Murata town. She planned to rest here for a night before heading back to the village tomorrow. As for the excuse, Uzuki Zien had already thought of it on the way. She would say he and Ryusuke Yagami were chased by the Kumigakure ninjas, and then escaped to the Iron Country before escaping from the pursuers. Afterwards, they rested for a night and made sure that the Kumigakure ninjas did not appear nearby before starting to return. As for that battlefield, what's going on? Sorry. They don't know either. If it were in the past, Uzuki Zien would definitely not lie to the Hokage. But now Uzuki Zien doesn't know whether he should stick to his past beliefs. In fact, today what happened had a big impact on her heart. Ryusuke Yagami also noticed that Uzuki Zien was not in a good mood, so after finding out that the most famous village in Murata town was Murata Hot Spring, he took Uzuki Zien with him. Yan came to the largest hotel in town. Boss, open a suite. Ryusuke Yagami took out the money and put it on the counter. The owner of the hotel was a woman in her 40s. After the other party took the money, he called a little girl with a smile and took them to the room with the key. Uzuki 11 Yan followed absent-mindedly along the way. It wasn't until Mao U11 that Yan came back to his senses. Sister Xian, I heard that the hot springs in this town are quite famous. Let's go to a hot spring later to relieve our fatigue. Ryuzyuk Yagamai said. Hearing this, Yuazyuki Xian also nodded. She was indeed a little tired. It would be nice to take a bath in a hot spring. Guests, we have the most authentic Murata hot spring in our hotel. As long as you take a dip once, you will fall in love with our Murata hot spring in Murata town. The little girl leading the way said to the two of them with a smile. Okay, then we will go experience your hot spring later. Ryusuke Yagamai said, took out 500 taels and handed it to the little girl. Guests, we do not have a tipping policy. The little girl quickly waved her hands and refused. It's okay, just take it, wait a moment, and take us to your hot spring later. Ryusuke Yagamai said. He put the money in the little girl's hand. After hearing this, the little girl hesitated for a moment, then smiled and put the money into her pocket. Guests, I'll be waiting for you behind the door. The little girl said, turned, and left the room. Ryusuke, have you often come to this kind of place before? Why do you feel so skilled? Uzuki Xian looked at Yagamai Ryusuke with a suspicious expression. No way, Sister Xian, you are overthinking. I have never left the village before, so there is no need for me to stay in a hotel in the village. Ryusuke Yagamai said. However, he has actually gone to Konoha's hot springs a few times. Mainly because it is very comfortable to soak in hot springs after he is tired from training. But he went to serious hot springs. He definitely did not go there. Live in such an improper place. Sister Xian, this suite has 2 rooms, which one do you want to sleep in tonight? King Liangsuk asked, changing the topic. Just the one on the left. Uzuki Xian chose a room at random. The rooms were all similar anyway, so there was nothing to choose from. A few minutes later, Yagamai Ryusuke and the two followed the little girl to the hot spring area of the hotel. Men's bath, women's bath, mixed bath and more. Does this hotel have mixed bathing? Ryusuke Yagamai stared at those 2 words for a few seconds. Then it seemed that Yuyuki Xian next to him noticed what he was looking at, and he couldn't help but laugh. Ryusuke wants to try mixed bathing. Mao Xian deliberately teased him and asked. Sister Xian, do you want to go together? Yakami Ryusuke asked. I forget it, I like to take a bath alone. Yuyuki. Xian shook her head, but Ryusuke, you can give it a try. Maybe you can meet a beautiful young lady. Forget it, I'd better go to the men's bath. Ryusuke Yagamai thought about it and gave up the idea of going to mixed bathing to learn more. Mainly because he had heard a rumor before, saying that the women who would go to mixed bathing were either elderly aunts or a group of people. Old lady. He doesn't want to be scared and run out. That would be so embarrassing. So, let's just take a bath in the men's bath honestly. Ouch. It's a pity. Uzuki Xian said with a deliberate smile. Yagamai Ryusuke couldn't tell that Uzuki Xian was teasing him on purpose, so he rolled his eyes and walked directly into the door of the men's bath with his own frame. Choosing an empty hot spring pool, Yagamai Ryusuke soaked comfortably in the hot spring, feeling that all the pores in his body were opened. So comfortable. He casually covered his face with the wet towel, then lay against the edge and closed his eyes to rest. After a while, Yagamai Ryusuke took off the towel from his face and reached out to wipe his face again. Look around, there was no one around, so he took out a drop of blood from the system's biopheromone warehouse. This drop of blood was the blood Aberame took from the root. The system transforms this drop of blood on my hand. Ryusuke Yagamai thought silently in his heart. The next second, the drop of blood on his hand disappeared instantly. Then the system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Phosphorus Bad Worm Body, Blue. Body of phosphorus bugs. Blue. There are a large number of poisonous phosphorus bugs in your body. These cute little bugs will obey your orders. Maybe you can try to accept the reality that your body is covered with bugs. Insect affinity add 100%. Comes with phosphorus worm lodging. His. Anyone who plays with bugs is ruthless. Ryosuke Yagami looked at the content of this talent entry and thought to himself. Having a lot of bugs lodged in his body was more than a ninja from the Abarame clan could bear. Anyway, if it were Ryosuke Yagami, he wouldn't be able to accept the fact that he was covered in bugs. Therefore, there is nothing much to say about this talent entry, just break it down directly. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Originally, Ryosuke Yagami came here for the experience value of decomposing entries. Blue talent entries can gain 100 experience points after decomposition, which is 10 times that of green talent entries. Unfortunately, even if all these experience points are added up and invested in a golden talent entry, it is far from enough to upgrade it. Ryosuke Yagami opened the character panel and looked at the 3 golden talent entries that had been hanging up. In more than 2 years, the experience points of these 3 golden talent entries have already exceeded 10,000 points. But the distance, the 100,000 points required for upgrade, are still 9/10 short of it. At this rate, it will take another 20 years to upgrade. This is too long. However, since the system has the first update, then Yagami Ryosuke guessed that there should be a second one. The first update added the hang-up function of this entry. So what about the second update? Will it add any new features? Or increase the efficiency of the original functions? For example, the hang-up function, the income is increased from 10 points a day to 100 points a day. Then it is easy to upgrade the golden talent entry. I don't know what the conditions are for the next system update. Ryosuke Yagami guessed that it might be related to the number of entries in the equipment. The previous update was because of this. But before, Ryosuke Yagami tried to equip a lot of white and green entries. The result was of no use. The system did not prompt for it. Update. Possible. It may also have something to do with the entry level of the equipment. Maybe those below purple are not counted by the system. If that's the case, Yagami Ryosuke will need to equip a few more purple talent entries in the future. It doesn't matter if it's useful or not, as long as it doesn't make you sick. There are no side effects. You can stay and equip them first. After taking a dip in the hot spring, it was completely dark outside. Ryosuke Yagami and Yogan Yuajiki found a restaurant in the town for a late dinner, and then went back to the hotel to rest. Late at night. In the room, Ryosuke Yagami was a little unable to sleep. He thought that the little girl who led the way had said that the suite also had a small hot spring pool. Except that it is smaller, it is no different from the hot spring that I have soaked in before. It is the Murata hot spring in the middle. So Ryosuke Yagami, who couldn't sleep, simply got up, took a bathrobe, and went directly to the hot springs. Open the bathroom door. There is indeed a small hot spring here. The hot spring is a small round hot spring with a diameter of more than 2 meters. Ryosuke Yagami took off his clothes and walked into the water, letting the hot spring cover his whole body. I wonder if Sister Zien is asleep. Ryosuke Yagami suddenly thought to himself. The last time he stayed at Ozuki Zien's house, Yuajiki Zien had insomnia that night. I wonder if she will suffer from insomnia again if she stays in this hotel tonight. But this big in the evening, Ryosuke Yagami couldn't knock on Ozuki Zien's door and ask her if she was asleep, just in case she was already asleep and was woken up by him. Then she woke up angry. It's scary to think about it. With a towel covering his face, Yagami Ryosuke closed his eyes and soaked in the hot spring to rest. I don't know how long it took. Just when he was about to fall asleep in a daze, he suddenly heard the sliding door being opened. Yagami Ryosuke was startled and quickly took off the towel on his face and looked at the door. At the door, Uzuki Yuyan, wearing a pink bathrobe, was standing there holding a small frame, looking at Ryusuke Yagamai soaking in the water in surprise. Ryusuke, are you still awake? The money is good, Sister Zian, are you suffering from insomnia again? The two asked each other almost at the same time. Then they fell into silence for a moment. Well, how about I let you? Ryusuke Yagamai asked. After hearing this, Uzuki Zian, who was standing at the door, hesitated for a moment, then turned around and closed the sliding door of the bathroom. It's okay, let's go clubbing together. Yuyu Zian turned around with her face a little red and said. I wonder if she was smoked by the heat of the hot spring? It must be so. You turn your head away. Uzuki Zian said to Yagamai Ryusuke. Ah. Oh. Yagamai Ryusuke was stunned for a moment, and then turned his head to the side in embarrassment. After a while, there was a sound of water entering the water. That's it? Yakami Ryusuke turned his head back when he heard the sound and saw Uzuki Zian walking into the hot spring pool. Sister Zian, can't you sleep again? Ryusuke Yagamai felt that if he didn't speak at this moment, I'm afraid the atmosphere would be very awkward, so he took the initiative to find a topic to talk about. Yes, maybe too many things happened during the day and I couldn't sleep. Mao Yuzian nodded and said. When she was in the room before, she would think of the things that happened during the day when she closed her eyes, so that she couldn't sleep at all. Later, she was a little upset and thought of the little girl who led the way. I told you that there was a small hot spring in the room, so I thought about coming over and relaxing in the hot spring, maybe I could fall asleep. But I didn't expect Ryusuke Yagamai to have the same idea. What a coincidence. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 74. Although hot springs are good, you shouldn't soak in them for too long. Otherwise, the skin will wrinkle and the head will feel dizzy. It feels like the world is spinning when I walk fortunately. Ryusuke Yagamai and Yoganyu Uzuki are both ninjas, and their physiques are extraordinary. It's okay if you soak it for a little longer. The two of them stayed together until about 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, and then Mao Yuzian said that she was a little sleepy and went to bed first. Ryusuke Yagamai also took a dip for a while and went to his room to rest. A night of silence. The next day, Mao Yuzian didn't get up until 8:30 in the morning. As soon as she came out of the room, she saw Yagamai Ryusuke already drinking tea in the yard. You got up so early. Mao Yuzian said, aren't you sleepy today? Ryusuke Yagamai smiled and shook his head, and said I didn't sleep much when I was at home. I used to feel sleepy, but not anymore. After 3 or 4 hours of sleep, I feel very energetic. If only I could be like you. I used to be busy until late at night when I had tasks, and then I had to get up early the next day. I felt like I didn't get enough sleep every time. Uzuki Zian said, turned around and went to the bathroom to wash up. After she finished washing up and came out, Yagamai Ryusuke had already asked the hotel to deliver breakfast. Let's eat. We'll almost go back after eating. Ryusuke Yagamai said. Uzuki Yuyan nodded, pulled out a chair and sat down. It was around 9 o'clock in the morning. Ryusuke Yagamai went to the front desk and checked out of the room. Is the hot spring in our hotel pretty good? The landlady asked as she took the key with a smile. Hearing this, Yagamai Ryusuke and Uzuki Yuyan couldn't help but think of what happened last night. Great. Nothing to say. Yakami Ryusuke was quite natural, and even praised the hotel's hot springs. Uzuki Yuyan, who was standing behind him, blushed a little and lowered his head subconsciously. When the two came out of the hotel, Yagamai Ryusuke saw Mao Yuzian had been looking at the ground, and then she realized that she was blushing a little. Sister Zian, you are blushing. Ryusuke Yagamai said. Yuzian. Hey, people are tough and can't be broken down. Ozuki Zien was furious and stepped on Yagami Ryusuke's instep viciously. And Ryusuke Yagami also pretended to be in pain. Does it really hurt? Ozuki Zien thought she had exerted too much strength, and it really hurt Ryusuke Yagami to step on her. But soon, she remembered that the kid in front of her was a guy whose body could directly resist B-level ninjutsu. It was just a stomp. It's just the instep, it's strange that it hurts. Ozuki Yuyan knew that she had been deceived again, and glared at Ryusuke Yagami angrily. Okay, Sister Zien, I'm kidding you. Ryusuke. Yagami smiled and scratched his head. Don't make such a joke next time. Ozuki Zien said angrily. Ryusuke Yagami said that he won't do it next time, and then glanced at the angry Ozuki Zien, and suddenly said, Sister Zien, you are actually quite cute when you are angry. The moon is shining brightly at sunset. You still said that. She raised her hand to hit, but Ryusuke Yagami quickly ran to the front. Don't run. Let me hit you a few times. Mao Yuzian chased after them, and the two people quickly ran out of the town. Outside the town was a dense forest. There were still wisps of morning mist floating in the forest. The two people who ran out of the town were chasing and fighting. Suddenly I stopped and heard the sound of wind chimes. Somebody is coming. Yu Yuzian looked towards the distance of the road. In the morning fog, there were two tall figures walking slowly towards the side. Because of the influence of the fog, Yu Yuzian could also clearly see the appearance of the people coming. But in the air there was a hint of murderous intent, but Yu Yuzian couldn't help showing a solemn expression. It's them. Ryusuke Yagami opened his Byakugan and Sharingan at this time. Although his eyes still maintained their normal appearance, his vision could clearly see the appearance of the person in the distance through the wisps of morning mist. Red clouds on a black background windbreaker. Wearing a bamboo hat, with wind chimes hanging on both sides of the bamboo hat. That crisp sound of wind chimes came from there. I didn't expect to meet Konoha's ninjas here. When they got closer, the two people from the Akatsuki organization also discovered Ryusuke Yagami and Yuzuki Ozuki standing in front. Their eyes glanced at the Konoha forehead protectors on them, and then, dabf, their hair turned white. Kakuzu, who had green eyes and wore a forehead protector from the Taki ninja village, also took out a booklet from his sleeve. He opened the booklet and looked at it page by page. Finally, his eyes stopped on one of the pages. At the end of the lunar month, Konoha's special Jonin offered a reward of 8 million taels. Kakuzu read out the contents of the pamphlet. No, Kakuzu. Haydn on the side muttered dissatisfiedly, you wouldn't even want to take action on something like this that has a reward of 8 million, right? Don't waste time, I'm hungry. Isn't 8 million money? Kakuzu looked at Haydn coldly. Not to mention 8 million, even if it was 800,000, he would not let it go. Anyway, it is a matter that can be solved easily. Why not? These 8 million, make money. Is it possible that he still dislikes his job so easily? Kakuzu is not the kind of person who dislikes having little money. No matter how much or how little money he has, as long as there is money to be made, he is willing to do it. I'm really impressed by you, but I won't help you. Haydn crossed his hands and said impatiently. I can do it myself without your intervention, just give me 2 minutes. Kakuzu glanced at him lightly. He was just a special jounin of Konoha. He was not even a formal jounin. He could easily do it in minutes. It didn't take much time at all. Cut. So troublesome. Haydn curled his lips. Sister Zien, do you still have a reward? Ryusuke Yagami looked at Ozuki Yojo with some surprise. Generally speaking, those who can hang bounties on the black market are not ordinary ninjas. Ordinary ninjas will not let people spend money to put a bounty on their heads. Ryusuke Yagami also didn't expect that Ozuki Yogan, who is just a special jounin, would actually have a reward on the black market. Although 8 million is not much, it is still the reward for 2 or 3 S-level missions. I don't know either. Mao Yuzian shook her head. She had never heard of the news that she was being offered a reward on the black market. But 8 million taels? My head is only worth 8 million taels? Mao Yuzian was a little angry. I feel underestimated. As for worrying about the 2 ninjas opposite, feel sorry. Ever since she saw the strength of Yogamai Ryuzyuk yesterday, Uzuki Yuyan didn't feel any worry or nervousness at all. She even felt that the 2 rebellious nins opposite her were a bit unlucky. He actually met the 2 of them and planned to take action against them. Isn't this asking for death? Boy, you are not on my roster. If you don't want to die, get out of here. Don't stop me from making money. Kakuzu said to Ryusuke Yagamai. Uncle Kakuzu has always looked down upon this kind of ninja who has no bounty. He is a piece of trash that does not even have a bounty. He does not deserve to die in the hands of his uncle Kakuzu. Kakuzu, hurry up. Haydn on the side urged. Shut up. If you keep talking, I'll kill you too. Kakuzu turned around and said fiercely. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Otherwise, these guys in the Akatsuki organization are ruthless people. If they are ruthless, they will even dare to kill their own companions. But this is nothing. After all, there are ruthless people who can even chop the tail beast Jade with a sword. Killing a few companions or something, what does it mean? Ryuzyuk, how about you let me try? Yuyuki Zien put one hand on her ninja sword, wanting to test whether the guy in front of her was as powerful as he said. Or was he just a good talker? No, Sister Zien, these 2 are not simple roles, let me do it. Ryusuke Yagamai stopped Uzuki Yogan. Uzuki Yogan didn't know the 2 people in front of him, but how could Ryusuke Yagamai not know them? They are the immortal duo organized by Akatsuki. One is Haydn and the other is Kakuzu. The former he has an immortal body, his taijutsu is good, and he has the level of a jounin, but the key is that the immortal body is very troublesome, and he can also use the curse to kill the sword. If you don't know his intelligence, he will accidentally take it. When it comes to your own blood, you will be at his mercy. And the other Kakuzu is far superior to Haydn in terms of hard power. Haydn mainly relies on his immortality and weird spells. But as long as he knows his information clearly, it's not difficult to fight. But Kakuzu is different. This guy is an old monster who has lived for more than 90 years. Although he looks young, he is actually a grandfather. It is said that this guy was ordered by Zenjin I went to assassinate the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, but because of fear, I just threw a shuriken from a distance and ran away. Therefore, it was jokingly called Kakuto where the shuriken was thrown 800 miles away. But don't look at it when Kakuzu faced Senju Hashirama, he was so scared that he didn't even dare to take action and ran away. But in fact, he is also a genuine cage-level powerhouse. His strength, even among cage level, is at a high-end level. It's very difficult to deal with. Especially since he has 5 hearts. Only by completely destroying these 5 hearts can he be killed. Otherwise, he cannot be killed by other means. People who don't know this information will never find out about him. The 5 hearts wearing masks thought it was just some kind of special secret technique. Yagamai Ryusuke didn't expect that he would meet the immortal duo here. Moreover, Kakuzu was also eyeing Uzuki Yujeo. The reason turned out to be the reward of 8 million taels. Ryusuke, do you know them? Uzuki Zien heard Yagamai Ryusuke's words and asked him in surprise. Yagamai Ryusuke nodded and said, I heard about it. Sister Zien, please step back and protect yourself. Leave these 2 guys to me. I happened to eat a bit too much in the morning, so I had a good fight to relieve my appetite. Then be careful, I'll watch over you. Uzuki Zien said. She also retreated near the entrance of the town. At this time, Kakozu on the opposite side looked Yagami Ryusuke up and down. It seems that you are stronger than this kunoichi, but do you really want to stop thinking about leaving here? I really don't want to fight with a ninja like you who doesn't even have a bounty on your head. Kakozu also tried to persuade Ryusuke Yagami to leave. For him, working with a ninja who has no bounty is equivalent to wasting time to make money. And wasting time to make money is one of the most shameful things for Kakozu. 1. Second only to spending money lavishly. Needless to say, if you don't defeat me today, I won't let you get close to Sister Zien. Ryusuke Yagami said. Then he slowly pulled out his ninjutsu. His ninjutsu is too powerful. Even C-level ninjutsu can be as powerful as S-level ninjutsu in his hands. Come on. Moreover, Ryusuke Yagami is also eyeing the biological pheromones on the immortal duo. If it were them, they should be able to convert 2 talent entries that are at least purple, right? Immortal duo, please don't let me down. Ryusuke Yagami muttered in his heart. The next second, his figure disappeared in a flash. The corners of the opposite corner showed a contemptuous smile, and their hands under the sleeves quickly formed seals. In an instant, 2 men looked ferocious wearing masks. The masked monster came out of his body. Wind escape. Pressure. Boom. A gust of wind blasted towards Ryusuke Yagami. However, Ryusuke Yagami rushed forward against the masked monster's Fendun, completely ignoring Fendun's attack. Oh. Somewhat capable. Kakozu looked at Ryusuke Yagami who was rushing up against the wind in surprise, a little surprised at the other party's strength. After all, Ryusuke Yagami looked too immature. He could tell at a glance that he was still young. So at first, no matter what, neither Kakozu nor Haiden took Yagami Ryusuke too seriously. But the fact turned out to be that this brat's strength was actually quite good. That's right. In Kakozu's heart, Yagami Ryusuke showed at this moment his strength is just good. For a ninja like this, I can't remember how many I've killed in my life. If the heads are piled up together, they can form a hill. Therefore, Kakozu was just a little surprised, but he didn't take it too seriously. Ninja technique, Dance of 3 Suns and Moons. Ryusuke Yagami used the sword skill he learned from Uzuki Yojeo. As soon as the Dance of the 3 Moons was executed, 3 Ryusuke Yagami appeared in the air, 2 in front and 1 behind, surrounding Kakwa all. With a 400% bonus to the power of swordsmanship. Ryusuke Yagami's sword was fast and accurate. Before even Keiku had time to dodge, Ryusuke Yagami instantly killed this wind-attributed mask. Monster. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 75. At the same time, Yagami Ryusuke also cut off one of Kakozu's arms with a knife. The arm flew out with blood. 3 other masked monsters instantly emerged from Kakozu's body and released a number of ninjutsu to temporarily force Ryusuke Yagami back. Immediately, Kakozu looked at the blown wind masked monster with a dark face, and looked at Yagami Ryusuke with a look that no longer looked contemptuous as before, but with a strong murderous intention. This kid. How dare he destroy his own heart? Unforgivable. Hello. Kakozu, can you do it? Haiden, who was standing on a tree, couldn't help but shout suspiciously when he saw that his heart was broken when he saw him. Shut up. Kakozu turned to look at him angrily. He was really angry this time. One of his 5 hearts was easily broken by the kid in front of him. The key point is that this kid is still a little known one. Little guy? I have never heard of the other party at all. If it were those ninjas who are famous in the ninja world, then Kakozu would recognize it. After all, losing 1 or 2 hearts will not kill anyone, as long as they win in the end. Who can say anything about him? But now that he was hurt by such a small character, Kakozu really couldn't accept it. He felt that his dignity had been insulted. Especially, Haydn, an idiot, actually laughed at him. This makes Kakuzu even more intolerable. Damn you kid, you managed to piss me off. Kakuzu looked at Yagami Ryosuke across from him with murderous eyes. At this moment, he even ignored the Uzuki Yojao worth 8 million taels over there. He just wanted to kill this brat so that he could maintain his power. Uncle, you don't look good either. It turns out that he is just a good talker. Ryosuke Yagami laughed and mocked. This made Kakuzu even more angry. Go to hell, you sharp-tongued brat. Kakuzu, dominated by anger, directly controlled his 3 masked monsters to kill Ryosuke Yagami. He was careless before and misjudged the strength of this kid. But this time, he will not be so careless again as long as you fight hard. The effect of this Jonin strength is not the same as chopping melons and vegetables. Fire escape. Head hard. A masked monster sprayed out a large flame that was half the size of sea water from its mouth. The flames spread over a large area the moment they hit the ground, directly covering all of Yagami Ryosuke's escape routes. Thunder escape. Pseudo-darkness. The other masked monster also opened its mouth and spat out a large thunder spear, shooting directly at Ryosuke Yagami in the center of the sea of fire. The last masked monster did not take action. Because the attribute of this masked monster is water. At present, the surrounding area has been enveloped by the sea of fire. If you use the water escape ninjutsu at this time, wouldn't you be causing trouble for yourself? Compared to ninjutsu. Cut. Am I afraid of you? Ryosuke Yagami sneered, completely ignoring the surging sea of fire. He formed seals with his hands instantly, and then spat out a large amount of water from his mouth, rushing towards the sea of fire in front of him like a waterfall. Water escape. Water chaos. Yagami, the sea-level water ninja released by Ryosuke, is as powerful as an S-level. Even in the current waterless environment, it can create a massive flow of water, bigger than a waterfall. Everyone on the opposite side was shocked. God, is this water chaos? Do you think I don't know how to deal with water chaos? Rumble. The monstrous water shattered everything along the way. Kakuzu was so frightened that he immediately jumped up and jumped to the ground. In the air, I avoided the massive water flow. Below, the entire forest was almost submerged by the water. Big trees were washed down by the water flow and floated on the water, being washed away by the rushing water. Before he was still standing on the tree watching the lively Haydn. At this time, he quickly imitated Kakuzu and jumped up to avoid it. Then he turned over and landed on a piece of wood floating on the water. Wow! This water escape is so scary! Haydn yelled. There is also a water release master in their Akatsuki organization. 10. You tell me, I thought it was a big water blast. Bang! Kakuzu fell from the air, and stepped on it with both feet. On the rapid water, his excellent chakra control ability prevented him from falling into the water. What kind of monster is this kid? At this moment, Kakuzu couldn't help but doubt his life. He swore that even the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, who was said to be more like the Mizu Kage, would not be able to use a sea-level water escape on such a scale. Come on. Not to mention the issue of chakra consumption. The key point is that from the beginning of its birth, sea-level ninjutsu has not supported such a large chakra output. Otherwise, everyone should learn sea-level ninjutsu. Learn it. It's easy to learn, unlike those A or even S-level ninjutsu, which require extraordinary talent to learn. Away, awesome. Yagami Ryosuke clapped his hands and praised. Kakuzu, Haydn. No. Why is this kid talking so irritatingly? Is he laughing at us? He's laughing at us, right? Blanche. Kakuzu, if you can't do it, let me do it. Haydn angrily picked up his scythe and waved it in the air, looking angry. Roll. He's mine. Kakuzu roared angrily. He quickly stepped on the water with his feet and rushed towards Yagami Ryosuke in front. Compared with ninjutsu, he found that he seemed to be unable to compare with this kid. The opponent's chakra was amazing. The power of the ninjutsu used was also the size was astonishing. If he continued to fight at a distance, the loser would most likely be himself. So Kakuzu immediately changed his fighting strategy. Earth Escape. Earth Spear. Kakuzu still has an Earth-type heart left in his body. At this time, he used the Earth Release ninjutsu to strengthen his defense and attack. His two arms instantly turned into pitch black, as if there was some hard material covering them. The other side. Ryosuke Yagami had just used his Sharingan to copy Kakuzu's fire escape. At this moment, he saw Kakuzu rushing up and used another earth escape he had never learned before, and he quickly copied it again. Although Yagami Ryosuke's chakra attributes are fire, water, and wind, there is no earth attribute. But this does not mean that he cannot learn earth attribute ninjutsu. It just means that whether he learns or uses it, he will get twice the result with half the effort. Of course, even late-stage ninjas can do it. By developing additional chakra attributes, even a ninja who originally only had a single attribute can acquire multiple chakra attributes. However, Ryosuke Yagami has not yet practiced the form changes and property changes of the earth attribute, so copy the earth escape that I came here can only exert about 1/3 of its effect. Earth Escape. Earth Spear. Ryosuke Yagami instantly performed the copied Earth Escape ninjutsu, which also hardened his arms. The dark earth attribute material covered both of his arms. Ryosuke Yagami laughed and punched Kakuzu. Boom! The fists of the two collided in mid-air instantly. Kakuzu, who was on the opposite side, watched in disbelief as his right hand exploded after being beaten and turned into countless fragments. Ryosuke Yagami watched helplessly. The hand penetrated his chest and blew out the earth-type heart in his body. Damn it! Kakuzu fell to the ground with a thud and pretended to be dead. But in his heart, he couldn't understand why they were all the same. Ninjutsu, but he was easily defeated by Ryosuke Yagami. Could it be that he was using a fake earth escape? Kakuzu. Seeing Kakuzu rushing to the street, Haiden behind him was also frightened. He even forgot about Kakuzu having 5 hearts and rushed forward with his scythe. Damn it, kid! Haiden jumped up high and slashed at Yagami Ryosuke. But Yagami Ryosuke just raised his head and looked at him, then raised his hand and grabbed the scythe that Haiden had chopped down. Bang! The scythe struck it on Yagami Ryosuke's arm. He didn't break the defense. Haiden stared at the scene with wide eyes. He was instantly embarrassed. He didn't break the defense. What should he do? If he couldn't break the defense, he wouldn't get Yagami Ryosuke's blood. Without blood, there is no way to cast spells. Without blood, Haiden's combat effectiveness is only equivalent to that of a Jounin. How to fight? That's it. Ryosuke Yagami also wanted to try to see if Haiden's attack could break through his own defense. Although he was confident that Haiden could not do it, in line with the principle of protecting his hand, he still did not remove the Earth Spear ninjutsu from his arm. 0 asking for flowers 0. At this time, Haiden's sword failed to break through Yagami Ryosuke's defense. Not even the layer of black material on his arm could be broken through. The attack was completely ineffective. Read Bao's Huang novels, just go to Fila Novel Network. Let's go. Ryosuke Yagami grabbed Haiden's scythe with his backhand and pulled him over. Boom! The air exploded instantly. Ryosuke Yagami smashed Haiden's chest with a punch and sent his body flying heavily. The sky was full of blood spilled. Ryosuke Yagami caught Itone drop, put it away. Now, the immortal duo have obtained all their biological pheromones. It just so happens that today's conversions haven't been used up yet. After killing these two guys, you can try to convert one of them's talent entry and see what the effect is. Ryosuke. Behind him, Uzuki-Zen suddenly shouted Yagami Ryusuke's name. He looked back and found that the Kakozu who had been pretending to be dead just now had disappeared. There was only a large pool of blood left on the ground. Yagami Ryusuke frowned. He realized that the Zetsu of the Akatsuki organization should have rescued Kakozu. Oh, and Haiden too. Ryusuke Yagami reacted instantly and immediately rushed towards Haiden. His speed was faster than most cage-level experts. In just a split second, he rushed to the chest and was hit by a huge in front of Haiden who had a hole. At this moment, a pair of black and white hands emerged from the ground. The ground rippled like water. Seeing that Zetsu was about to take Haiden away, Yagami Ryusuke instantly kicked out. Boom! A deep pit appeared on the ground. Ryusuke Yagami fell on the edge, frowning. He was not sure whether Haiden was killed by his last kick. But he did see in the scene where most of Haiden's body was blasted into blood mist, it is possible that part of it was taken away by Zetsu. I just don't know if Haiden's immortal body can still survive if only a small part of his body is left. Go down? In other words, is there any point in living like this? Standing on the spot, Yagami Ryusuke sensed the surrounding environment. He even used Byakugan's inside eye to check. He didn't find anyone except himself and Uzuki Yuyan. The third chakra trace. He ran really fast. Ryusuke Yagami shook his head, then turned around and went back to Uzuki-Zen's side. Ryusuke, a strange guy who looked like a pitcher plant, just took away the body of that person. Uzuki-Zen saw Yagami Ryusuke coming over and quickly told him what she had just seen. The guy was not dead yet, he was rescued by his companions. Ryusuke Yagami said. Ah! Still not dead? Mao Yuzian looked shocked. Her entire chest was smashed and her heart was gone. Can she still be alive? What kind of monsters are these? Forget it, just run away, it doesn't matter anyway. Ryusuke Yagami shook his head, then glanced at the mess around him, called Uzuki-Zen and left together. It took a long time after they all left. The people in Murata town just plucked up the courage to walk out of the town. Looking at the forest in front of him that looked like it had been ravaged by a flood, he remained silent for a long time. In a cave, Zetsu emerged from the ground with Kakozu, who had lost 2 hearts, and Haiden's last remaining head. It's almost safe now. Zetsu looked at Kakozu, then handed him Haiden's head. You're lucky this time, I happen to be nearby, otherwise both of you would be doomed. Zeus was not polite at all, but Kakozu was recalling the battle just now with a dark face and didn't listen to what he said at all. On the other hand, Haiden was still yelling even though he only had 1 head left. Saying that he wants to seek revenge from the other party and to find his own weapons. Don't go looking for that Konoha ninja anymore, you can't beat him. Zetsu glanced at Haiden who was whirring, and then his body slowly melted into the ground and disappeared without a trace. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 76. After Zetsu left, Haiden was still clamoring for revenge and regaining his place. And Kakozu, who was already in a bad mood, suddenly felt even worse when Haiden kept yelling in his ears over and over again. Shut up. If you dare to say another word, I will leave you here now. Apparently, Kakozu's threats had an effect. After all, Haiden only had 1 head left at the moment. If Kakozu was left here, he would be left in this cave for the rest of his life. The key point is, Haiden is theoretically immortal. In other words, there is a high probability that he will not die of old age. Therefore, he may still be alone in this cave with his head alone for hundreds or even thousands of years. Even if it means a mental breakdown, right? Seeing that Haiden was finally quiet, Kakozu angrily led him out of the cave. Next, he had to replace the 2 hearts he lost. As for Heiden's body, let's talk about it later. Anyway, having 1 head left won't affect his eating and sleeping. And it falls out immediately after eating it. Wouldn't that be better? Without a stomach, you will never be full. It's around 1 p.m. Ryosuke Yagamai and Yujiro Ozuki were resting in the woods and had a quick lunch. After lunch was finished, Mao Zian took out the map and confirmed their current location. At their current speed, they would be able to return to the village before dark. I just wonder if the other Umbu ninjas in the second team have returned to the village. Also 757 means, they are still performing their mission? Anyway, the 2 of them didn't meet any other Umbu members on their way back. So there is a high probability that he has gone back. After all, this so-called intelligence recovery mission was most likely initiated by Danzo himself. It's possible that no important information was lost at all. During the break, Ryosuke Yagamai took out 2 drops of blood collected from the immortal duo. After thinking about it for a moment, he took back the drop of Kakozu's blood. Although Kakozu is stronger than Haiden. But according to Ryosuke Yagamai's past experience, only by gathering special ninjas like Haiden can better talent entries be transformed. As for Kakozu, it is very likely that it will turn into some spoof talent entries. For example, the man who defeated Senju Hashirama. Or a talent entry like the man who threw the shuriken 800 miles away. In contrast, Ryosuke Yagamai felt that if it were Haiden, he would be more likely to convert corresponding talent entries based on his immortality. After all, when it comes to immortality in the world of Naruto, the first thing that comes to mind is Haiden. Kakozu are all secondary. After all, Kakozu can be killed by having 5 hearts blown out. But what about Haiden? Even if you cut him into pieces, he won't be able to die. It's so exaggerated. Ryosuke Yagamai has always felt that Heiden's immortality is the most buggy ability in the entire Naruto world. Even if he was killed by Shikamaru and the others later, he was only blown into pieces. If someone helped sew him up, he could still live on. That's outrageous. If Ryosuke Yagamai could also obtain immortality like this, that coupled with his super recovery ability, isn't there no solution? Haiden also needs Kakozu to help him stitch up wounds and such. But Ryosuke Yagamai can handle it all by himself. Become a true, unkillable monster? System, transform this drop of blood on my hand. Ryosuke Yagamai communicated with the system in his mind. Immediately, the drop of blood on his hand disappeared in an instant. At the same time, a prompt sounded in his mind. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, Immortality, Purple. Hearing this reminder, Ryosuke Yagamai couldn't help but his eyes lit up. Immortal. Sure enough, as he guessed, the talent entries converted from Haiden are related to the immortal body. Immortality, Purple. You are an immortal monster that is hated by gods and ghosts. Countless people have tried to take your life, but they all ended in failure. Resilience add 500%. Additional ability, Immortality, Purple. It even increases resilience. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at the attributes of the talent entry Immortality in surprise. In addition to the expected ability of Immortality, he did not expect that the only numerical attribute that increased was the recovery ability. In this way, wouldn't Yagamai Ryosuke's recovery ability become more terrifying? The original Junior Immortal body plus a 20 times recovery bonus has already made Yagamai Ryosuke's body recovery ability as good as Naruto's. The Nine Tails Jinhyuriki. And now, it has increased its recovery ability by 500%. Is this preparing to make Ryosuke Yagamai really become an immortal monster? As for the accompanying ability of Immortality, Ryosuke Yagamai is here after equipping this talent entry. I checked it. I found that the effect of this ability increases with the level of the talent entry Immortality. Now this talent entry is purple level. So at night the immortal body that Kami Ryasuke obtained is also purple level. There are no vital points in the body. Even if the heart is blown out, he can still live well. And with his amazing recovery power, he can grow a new heart. But there is a weakness. It is his brain. As long as the damage to the brain exceeds 50%, his immortal body will not be able to ensure his immortality. Therefore, from now on, the only thing Yagami Ryasuke needs to protect is his own, it's just the brain. As long as nothing happens to the brain, everything else doesn't matter. Of course. As a man, injuries in some places may cause a certain psychological shadow, so it's better to avoid it if you can. However, read Bao's Huang novels, just go to Fila Novel Network. If the talent entry immortality is upgraded to the gold level, correspondingly, Ryasuke Yagami's immortality ability will also be improved. At that time, the brain will no longer be his weakness. In other words, even 99% of the damage can be recovered, as long as there is a little residue. But if it is completely blown to pieces, there may be no hope. Of course, this is what Ryasuke Yagami is currently doing. I'm just guessing. I'll have to wait and see if this will be the case after the upgrade, but I guess it's almost the same. Before dark, Ryasuke Yagami and Yoganyu Uesugi finally returned to the village. Before entering the village, the two of them put on the umbu masks again, then walked directly into the village gate openly, and went straight to the Hokage building. After all, they encountered an accident in the middle of the mission. When they came back this time, the first thing they had to do was to express their gratitude to the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen reported the situation. By the way, I can also ask if the others are back. And Black Fang and the others. I wonder if they were killed by those guys from the route. In the Hokage's office, Ryasuke Yagami and Uzuki Yojeo knocked on the door and walked in. In the office, Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head and glanced at the two people who came in. He didn't seem surprised at all. In fact, when Ryasuke Yagami and Uesugi Yojeo returned to the village, Sarutobi Hiruzen had received the news immediately. So he was naturally not surprised that the two of them would return to the village at this time. I heard that you were ambushed by Kyomagakure ninjas during the mission. What is the specific situation? The expression on Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was also unprecedentedly serious. After all, this matter involved an entire umbu team, and it was also related to Kyomagakure village. If one thing is not handled well, it will be another diplomatic conflict. Maybe it won't happen. It may even cause a series of chain reactions, causing heavy losses to the village. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had learned the news before Yagami Ryasuke and Uzuki Yojeo returned, has been troubled by this problem. Although he endured it for the third time, it has been several years since the World War. But the village has not recovered from the last war. After all, in the meantime, Konoha also experienced a Nine-Tails attack on the village and the Uchiha genocide. It had a great impact on the power of the village. A serious blow. If a conflict really breaks out with Kyomagakure, Hiruzen Sarutobi will have to perform another wave of strong man's wrist-breaking skills and hand over the people related to this matter to Kyomagakure. In order to save Kyomagakure, the village should not pursue this matter. As for whether Kyomoyan village instigated the matter, is this important? From Sarutobi Hiruzen's point of view, it doesn't matter who instigated it. The important thing is that he doesn't want to start a war with Yunyan village. This is the point. We were ambushed. Uzuki Zian, as the acting captain of Umbu Team 7, rushed to speak before Ryasuke Yagami. We were tracking the target under the leadership of the squad leader, but suddenly a group of people wearing Kyomagakure forehead protectors suddenly came out. Ninjas, we are not sure if the other party is the real Kyomagakure, but they are very strong. The squad leader held back 3 ninjas on the opposite side. Yayu and I dealt with the other 2 ninjas, while Heiya and the others went to seek support under my order. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, took a puff of cigarette and said, the 3 of your team, Black Fang, have returned to the village in the morning, and the information they brought back is no different from what you said. But what happens after that? How did you escape after that? Also, your squad leader has never returned to the village. Where are the others? Sarutobi Hiruzen had a majestic expression on his old face, staring at the two people in front of him. The third generation of adults. Ryusuke Yagamai immediately answered. The squad leader bought precious time for me and the captain. We retreated according to the order, but we were pursued by the ninjas from the opposite side. The captain and I fled all the way to the north. We ran a long way before we got rid of the pursuers behind us. After that, we wanted to rest for a while and then join the main force. However, a terrible explosion suddenly occurred in the forest. I discussed it with the captain at that time and felt that we might be in danger if we went there. I was not sure whether other personnel would survive. After coming down, we thought we should send this information back to the village alive first. Therefore, we finally decided to take a detour from the other side and return to the village to send back this information. Ryusuke Yagamai's tone was calm, and you couldn't tell he was lying. After speaking, he handed over a scroll. It contained the specific process of the mission, which was actually what he just said. Hiruzen Sarutobi knocked on the cigarette rod and fell into deep thought. After a while, he said to the two people in front of him, Zi, you did a good job. Bringing the information back to the village is indeed the most important thing. I guess you must be tired along the way, so go back and rest first. If anything happens, I will summon you again. Hokage-sama, let's take our leave now. Uzuki Zien secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She was really nervous just now, fearing that the lie she and Yagamai Ryusuke had planned would be exposed. Fortunately, it seems that now, the Hokage-sama does not seem to doubt them. In the Hokage's office. After Yagamai Ryusuke and Uzuki Yojo 5.0 left, another figure appeared in the office. Hi, how are you? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yamanaka Hiki in front of him. They didn't lie. Yan Zonghai shook his head. It seems they really don't know anything. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, and then said, okay, it's getting late. Please Hiki, please go there yourself and go back to rest. Hi Yamanaka nodded, said goodbye, and then used the teleportation technique to leave the Hokage's office. After a moment, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed quietly, looked at the moon in the sky outside the window, and held a copy of the information was just sent today. What was recorded in this information was the news that Hinata Chuji, the Umbu captain, had defected to Danzo. Just like Danzo had placed his own people in the Umbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen also he planted his own people at the route. The information in his hand was sent by his undercover agent in Umbu. Danzo, was it you who did what happened this time? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and fell into deep thought. He couldn't be sure for a while. The main reason was that the dead people seemed to be Danzo's. On the contrary, Ryusuke Yagamai and the others did not do anything at all. If this was really what Danzo did, Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to ask him, does he have any brains anymore? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 77. No one was killed, but he also used a secret that he had buried in the Umbu. Besides, if all this was really done by Danzo, then those so-called Kyomagakure ninjas can basically be determined to be ninjas at the root. In other words, he also hooked up with several elite ninjas. What are you picturing? But what exactly caused that explosion? Ninjutsu. But what kind of ninjutsu can cause that level of destruction? The more Sarutobi Hiruzen thought about it, the more he couldn't figure it out. But one thing is certain. That is, Yagamai Ryusuke and Uzuki Yojo really don't know anything. After all, Yamanaka Hiki has just confirmed it using spiritual magic. Neither of them lied. It's been such an eventful time. The mysterious ninja outside the village was not found some time ago, and now something like this happened again. Hey! Sarutobi Hiruzen let out a long sigh. It feels like if he keeps going like this, his old bones may not be able to survive 10 years. The country of rain, the hidden rain village. It rains all year round here, and every household must go out. Bring an umbrella. At this time, in the deepest part of Yuyan village, in the headquarters base of the Akatsuki organization. Zetsusho, who has just returned, and Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki organization, are reporting on the situation of the immortal duo. Ryusuke Yagami. Konoha Genin. When Pain heard that Kakuzu and Haiden almost died at the hands of a Konoha Genin, even though his body was just one of the 6 puppets, he couldn't help showing a look of surprise. This kid is very special. His physical skills and ninjutsu are very strong, but he doesn't seem to have much combat experience. He just uses his strength to overwhelm others. Zetsu said. With little combat experience, he almost killed Kakuzu and Haiden? That's even more unbelievable, isn't it? Pain frowned, a pair of purple rim 31 eyes flashing in thought. After a moment. Why did the other party conflict with Kakuzu and the others? Pen asked. This is very important. If it is deliberately targeting their Akatsuki organization, then Pain feels that they need to solve this trouble as soon as possible. After all, as Ze said, the other party is just a 12-year-old brat. But now he already has such terrifying strength. God knows how strong he will be when he reaches adulthood in a few more years. Although Pain has always claimed to be a god, he is also quite confident in his own strength. But he is confident, not arrogant. It is better to nip an enemy like this in the bud. Only a fool would wait for the other party to grow to its peak before taking action. Do you want to make yourself uncomfortable? Are you stupid? It seems that the cause of the incident was that Kakuzu wanted to take one of his companions to the underground gold exchange in exchange for a bounty, so the two sides clashed. Ju said. Pain. Kakuzu is good at everything. He is also very good at making money and has made a lot of money for their Akatsuki organization. But there's just one thing not so good about it. Money is too important. Sometimes Pain even wonders, if someone offered 2 billion for his head, would the Gyouzuo city fight even though they knew they couldn't beat him? This is not to say that Kakuzu is a fool. But money has become an obsession in his heart. It's as if Pain wants to make the 5 powers feel the pain in order to achieve peace. This is their obsession. Doesn't Pain know the risks of doing this? He knows, but he doesn't care. Even if you have to sacrifice your own life, as long as you can get the result you want. He is also very willing. Therefore, even if Kakuzu's obsession with money was put aside before, Pain could understand it. But now, I heard that Kakuzu provoked such a powerful enemy for the Akatsuki organization just for a bounty. Pain felt a little depressed from the bottom of his heart. Pain, what are you going to do? Ju looked at Pain in front of him and asked him. Pain thought for a moment. Ignore him for now. Kakuzu and Haiden asked them to be careful in the future and not to bring unnecessary enemies like this to the organization again. We are mainly in the latent stage now and it is not appropriate to conflict with each other. Is that what you think? Ju nodded and understood. Okay, I'll go down first. Pen didn't say anything, watching Ju's figure disappear in front of his eyes. Pain, do we really not care about Ryusuke Yagami? Konan on the side couldn't help but ask. She had been listening just now, and even she thought that Ryusuke Yagami might become an obstacle to their Akatsuki organization's plans in the future. She didn't believe that Pain would not have thought of this. No, this Ryusuke Yagami will not be our enemy. Unexpectedly, Pain shook his head and said that Yagami Ryusuke would not be the enemy of their Akatsuki organization. This made Zionin a little confused. Why do you think a ninja who can easily defeat Kakuzu and Haiden deliberately hides his own strength and becomes a genin? Pen asked Zionin. Is it because of some scruples? Zionin thought for a while and guessed. Yes, the village of Konoha is darker than we imagined. Their senior officials cannot even trust the ninjas in their own village. You have also read the information about Konoha, and you should know that if you were born in Konoha, if your talent is too great, what will happen if you are strong? Hearing this, Conan recalled the information about Konoha that he had read before. Going forward, the Uchiha clan was wiped out, the genius ninja Uchiha Shisui died accidentally, and Uchiha Itachi killed the entire clan and became a rebel ninja. Going forward again, the Kuwabai attacked the village, the fourth generation couple died, and the third generation came back to take charge of the overall situation. Moving forward, Heitake Shosage committed suicide. The three ninjas ran away. One by one, it seems that all of them illustrate that the people who were born in Konoha, too much talent is not only not a good thing, but a bad thing. If you are not good enough, you will be killed. You say, we can win over Ryosuke Yagami. Xiaonan seemed to understand what Pain just said. It's hard to say for the time being, but since he clearly has top-notch strength even among cage level, but he is still willing to be a genin in Konoha, then he must have an agenda. And his plan must be contrary to the top management of Konoha. Just watch, he will fall out with Konoha's top management one day, and by then, if he fails, it will be the best time for us to win over him. Who said Pain can only carry rice? He also has a brain and can think, okay. So what if he wins? Xiaonan asked. How much armed force do you think Konoha will have left after he wins? Pen chuckled and said. That's right. Zionan's eyes lit up. No matter who loses or wins, both sides will inevitably suffer a great loss in strength. Originally, after experiencing so many internal struggles, Konoha's good foundation has been lost. They are almost done. If there is another big chaos, I am afraid that the whole village will exist in name only. At that time, they will go to Konoha to capture the nine-tailed Jinhuriki and recover the tailed beasts. Who else can stop them? Organization. Thinking about it this time, not only did Kakuzu and Haiden do nothing wrong this time, but they also did a good job. This allowed them to discover Ryosuke Yagami, a powerful ninja hidden in Konoha in advance. The 12-year-old cage super peak. Tisk tisk. Zionin couldn't help but feel a little envious. On a cliff more than 10 kilometers away from Yuyan village, Ju, who had just left Yuyan village, emerged from the ground. Read the cool novel and fly up Blue Novel Network. You're here. On the edge of the cliff, Uchiha Obito, wearing a whirlpool mask with one eye exposed, looked back at Zetsu. I heard from Zetsu that something happened to Kakuzu and Haiden? Obito asked. Zetsu nodded, and then repeated what he had said to Pain before. Pain planned to ignore Ryosuke Yagami for the time being. Ju finally said. Pain's decision was right. At this time, the Akatsuki organization should continue to accumulate strength and lurk. Now is not the best time to start recovering the tailed beasts. Obito nodded and approved Pain's decision. However, is Ryosuke Yagami really that strong? Obito looked at Zetsu and asked him. He is very strong. Whether it is taijutsu or ninjutsu, they are all at the cage level, especially his ninjutsu. A sea-level water wave can be used as well as an S-level water release. Apart from being young, he has no combat experience. It's just that his talent in illusion has not been revealed yet. Ju said. Is it? It's just a movie level, not much of a threat. By the way, does he have any blood inheritance limit? Obito asked. Yes, a kind of physical type of blood inheritance limit. His body can directly resist B-level thunder escape without being injured. This is the information that Zetsu learned about in Konoha. After rescuing Kakuzu and Haiden, Zetsu immediately went to find out the information about Ryosuke Yagami. Dini went to report this matter to Pain and Obito in front of me. Just a strong physique. Ju nodded. Then there is no need to pay attention to it. Obito waved his hand, obviously looking down on such a bloodline limit. After all, no matter how strong the attack is, can it be stronger than Zenjin's Sandaime Raikage? But if he is stronger than the Sandaime Raikage, he will still be defeated by tens of thousands of people in Iwagakure village. The ninja troops are at a loss. What's more, this type of ninja is what Obito is least afraid of. On the contrary, people like Namikaze Minato are not very strong in attack, but they are extremely mobile, smart in mind, and smart in battle. An extremely outstanding ninja is his nemesis. A strong and reckless man, Obito feels that he does not need to care about such a person. Even though he is only 12 years old this year, he may become stronger in the future. But so what? No matter how strong he is, can he break the space and hurt himself in the virtual state? If he can't hurt him, it's useless. Pay more attention to the situation on Pain's side. This guy is not that easy to deceive. If anything goes wrong, notify me as soon as possible and I will deal with him. Obito ordered to Zetsu. Zetsu nodded, then got into the ground and disappeared. Lin, it's almost time. I'm almost successful, just wait a few more years for me. Obito looked at the silver moon in the distance, and the girl's sweet smile appeared in his mind. Konoha, Ryosuke Yagami's house. In room 940, the window was open. Ryosuke Yagami was sitting on the roof, staring at the moon in the sky in a daze. By the way, Kaguya Otsutsuki has been sealed on the moon for so many years. Is she always awake, or is she always asleep? If he were awake, wouldn't he be going crazy? For thousands of years, I was alone, unable to eat or play, and could only constantly recall the betrayal of my sons. Just thinking about it is enough to drive people crazy. He must have spent it in a deep sleep. Ryosuke Yagami thought silently. More than an hour later. Have you finally left? The corners of Yagami Ryosuke's mouth raised slightly, revealing a smile. Before that, he and Uzuki Yuyan said goodbye and went home respectively. On the way, Yagami Ryosuke felt that someone was following him, but he didn't expose the other person. Until just now, the one who followed and monitored him left. Brush. Ryosuke Yagami created a shadow clone. Follow him and see where he goes. Ryosuke Yagami ordered to the shadow clone. The shadow clone nodded expressionlessly, and then disappeared on the roof with a teleportation technique. Most likely it's Danzo's subordinate, but it's also possible it's Sarutobi Hiruzan's. Today when I was in the Hokage's office, there was someone hiding in the darkness. I wonder who that person is. Ryosuke Yagami didn't open his Byakugan in advance at that time, so he just sensed the presence of someone. But he didn't know who it was. A few minutes later, the shadow clone who followed the monitor looked at the ninja in front of him and walked into the door. In a building. On the surface, this building is just an ordinary shop. But it was late at night, and the shop had already closed. And this ninja opened the back door and walked in. The shadow clone thought about it, and also secretly he followed up, silently, without being noticed by the person in front. It wasn't until the other party opened a secret door, revealing a passage extending diagonally downward at the back, that the shadow clone stopped and did not continue to follow. To be so sneaky, the roots must not have escaped. The shadow clone thought, and then left the shop, taking the initiative to disperse the chakra in his body. Bang! As the shadow clone disappeared, Ryosuke Yagami, who was at home, also received the memory passed back by the shadow clone. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 78. Sure enough, I knew it was Danzo, the LYB. Ryusuke Yagamai had an expression of "it's not what I expected." However, is the original entrance to the route located in that kind of place? I thought it would be hidden in a mountain or something. This is probably where Oin hides in the city. Bar. Now that we have found the entrance to the route, why not visit Danzo now? Ryusuke Yagamai chuckled, then stood up, brushed his hands and disappeared on the roof. In the room, a shadow clone replaced Ryusuke Yagamai lying on the bed, pretending to be sleeping. And Ryusuke Yagamai, at this time, had used the transformation technique to become another person. In order not to be seen through, he even put on a mask. He bought the mask at a street stall when he was outside, mainly because he thought it was very different. Like Obito's Uzumaki mask, so I bought it. I didn't expect it to come in handy so quickly. The roots are deeply rooted in the underground of Konoha. The internal passages are intertwined and very complicated, like a maze. If there is no acquaintance to lead the way, I was afraid that the intruder would get lost, so he walked into the room with a trap in a daze. At this time, in the entrance passage, Yagamai Ryusuke, disguised as Tsuchiko, was taking a leisurely stroll. He was walking. He did not hide his figure deliberately. However, the ninjas at the base seemed not to see him. Even Ryusuke Yagamai passed directly in front of them, and there was no difference between them. It was very strange. Shino's invisible talent entry is really powerful. It reduces the sense of presence by 15 times. Coupled with my use of illusions, it's like entering a no man's land. Ryusuke Yagamai's eyes have already opened his kaleidoscope at this time. With the blessing of Sharingan's enhanced illusion ability, combined with the effect of the talent entry Invisible Man, he can even appear directly in front of those root ninjas. None of them could see the existence of Ryusuke Yagamai. That was outrageous. So, Ryusuke Yagamai walked around. Sometimes he would open this door, and sometimes he would open that door. It was like he was going shopping in the roots. But those ninjas patrolling by, he completely ignored his existence. 1 second, Ryusuke Yagamai just opened a door and walked into a room. The next second, the root ninja passing by the door clearly saw the door of the room open, and even looked inside. After a few glances, he couldn't see Yagamai Ryusuke standing openly in the room. He closed the door for him. Yagamai Ryusuke in the room was almost suffocated. Because he really thought the scene was very funny. After wandering around for a while, I also collected a lot of biological pheromones from Root Ninja and stored them in the warehouse. At this time, Yagamai Ryusuke opened another door. He found that there was actually a laboratory inside the door. All kinds of bottles and jars stacked together, the contents inside were all human tissues. How disgusting! Ryusuke Yagamai saw some researchers at the root sectioning some human tissues to study something. He walked to the side and observed for a while. Then he discovered I don't understand it at all. Sure enough, there is a specialization in the art industry. He really doesn't understand this scientific research thing. At this moment, another person came to the door where Ryusuke Yagamai had just entered. Ryusuke Yagamai looked back and found that the person who came in was Danzo with one eye and a cane. This old guy is so ugly. Ryusuke Yagamai looked Danzo up and down. The latter was completely unaware that the target he wanted to kill was standing in front of him, and he was still complaining that he was ugly. How is the research on Uchiha bloodline going? As soon as Danzo came in, an old man who looked to be in his 50s or 60s came up to him. He should be the supervisor here. Faced with Danzo's inquiry, the supervisor also wiped his sweat while answering. He looked very nervous. Look. At present, we have not developed an effective cloning method, but Danzo-sama, please give us a little more time, and I will definitely be able to develop results. The supervisor was full of assurances, but Danzo looked at him with more and more distrust. It's not that the supervisor betrayed him. After all, the researchers here were all planted with curses by him. It's impossible. Betrayal. The reason why he doesn't trust is that he doesn't trust the other party's ability. Danzo remembers it very clearly. The last time he came, including the last time he came, this guy used the same rhetoric. They all said to give him a little more time. Then he said that the research results would be available soon. But how long has this been going on? Danzo's ears almost grew calluses hearing this sentence. The results are still not seen. How can Danzo trust their abilities? Of course. The fact that researchers can be arranged by Danzo to conduct research in Genspace also shows that they are indeed capable. But, now it seems that the ability is there, but not much. Compared to Orochimaru. Not on the same level at all. Danzo was very disappointed. Sure enough, we still have to rely on Orochimaru. Danzo shook his head in disappointment. Forget it, you won't be needed for the next research. You can sort out the previous research materials. I will ask someone to come and take them away later. You will not be needed for this project in the future. Hearing Danzo's words, the supervisor in front of him was instantly frightened and turned pale. He knelt on the ground with a thud. Danzo-sama, please give us another chance. Please, sir. We can definitely do it this time. Danzo looked coldly at the supervisor who was kneeling on the ground, and after a moment he said, this time I will give you another chance. Another research target will be sent over in a few days, and you will be responsible for it then. Remember. This time I don't want to hear anything like giving you a little more time, do you understand? The supervisor kneeling on the ground in front of him quickly expressed his gratitude. But Yagami Ryusuke on the side had a strange expression. He always felt that the research target Danzo just pointed out was talking about him. Together with Danzo, he just sent someone he had been assassinated. Ryusuke Yagami was almost certain that this guy was the one he was talking about. Are you planning to keep an eye on me? Ryusuke Yagami sneered. Danzo's idea was a good one. What a pity. It's just that his ability was a bit lacking. And Ryusuke Yagami knew about it in advance. Then it would be even less likely to succeed. Follow Danzo from come out of the research room. Yagami Ryusuke watched him turn around and come to an archive room with various files lined up. The root cause of this mission's failure was an unknown explosion, but what exactly caused this explosion? Danzo muttered to himself, while picking up a scroll on the cabinet. The scroll was opened. What was recorded inside was information about some ninjas who were good at creating large explosions in the ninja world. He looked through it. After a while, it was finally some clues were discovered in a piece of intelligence from Iwagakure. This guy named Deidara has been fond of making all kinds of explosions since he was a child. He is still a disciple of the Tsuchikage, and he is also a rebellious nin. Could it be that Deidara was responsible for this explosion? Danzo held this piece of information in his hand, thinking about the possibility in his mind. Ryusuke Yagami on the side came over to take a look, and then looked at Danzo with a smile in his eyes. Deidara, I didn't expect Danzo to have information about this explosion artist, but did he actually suspect Deidara? That's right. This guy likes explosions so much and is a rebellious ninja. It's entirely possible that he did it. If it weren't for Ryusuke Yagami, he would be the instigator. To be honest, even he would not be able to help but wonder if Deidara did it. After all, for such a large-scale explosion, who else in this ninja world can do it except Deidara? Get it out? Who is there? While thinking about whether this matter might be caused by Deidara, Danzo suddenly felt a throbbing sensation coming from his bandaged right eye. He subconsciously turned his head and looked to the side. Reading Bao's Huang novels, just go to Filu Novel Network. The next second, poof. A flash of blood suddenly appeared. Danzo groaned and took a few steps back. He looked at the man wearing the suit who appeared in front of him with a horrified expression. Mysterious man in swirling mask. It's you. Danzo mistakenly thought that the other person was the guy who called himself Uchiha Madara whom he met last time. But after a closer look, he found that there were some differences between the two. The guy who called himself Uchiha Madara last time had one eye, and the one in front of him also had one eye. The one wearing the Uzumaki mask is a person with sound eyes. But the same thing is that both of them have the Mangekyo Sharingan. The man with the Uzumaki mask in front of him has a pair of kaleidoscopes that Danzo has never seen before. I just feel that this is just staring at it makes me feel uncomfortable all over. Damn Uchiha. Danzo cursed secretly, then shouted come here, and immediately called for help. Fighting alone? Sorry. Danzo-sama has not fought in person for a long time. In addition, the other party's weird way of appearance, and took away his right eye as soon as he made a move. This scared Danzo. How dare he fight alone with the opponent? At this time, Yagami Ryo held a Sharingan that was still bleeding with one hand. There is also a playful smile on the corner of the mouth under the mask. Plunder. The next second, the Sharingan in his hand shriveled up at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the original kaleidoscope pattern gradually regressed back to the pattern of 3 Megatama, until the 3 Megatama completely disappeared and became one. Just an ordinary eye. At this time, Yagami Ryusuke also felt that his left eye had another pupil technique. Other gods. Left can temporarily hypnotize the target, control their thinking, and make them become their own puppets without knowing it. But this control must be carried out at close range. And it cannot be interrupted. Once interrupted, the technique will be interrupted and the target will recover, but he will not be aware of anything wrong with him just now. The good thing is that you don't need to look at each other to perform this technique. As for Ryusuke Yagami, the power of the pupil technique is increased by 500% through the talent entry. This makes the effect of this special god even more amazing. The casting distance is longer, the effect is very good, and it can even control multiple targets. Moreover, if you use the kaleidoscope in your left eye to release illusions, the effect will be doubled. This is also the basic ability of this kaleidoscope, which is a passive effect. As expected of Uchiha Shisui's eyes. It's a pity that there is only one, it would be nice if both were here. Yagami Ryusuke thought greedily, and casually threw away the useless eye. My other god. Danzo didn't know that the eye skills of the other gods had been robbed by Ryusuke Yagami. He only saw Ryusuke Yagami throwing the other gods on the ground, with good money, and stepping on it. Feed. Damn it! Where did this madman come from? Why did he destroy this other god of mine? Danzo was furious. Just in time, the ninjas from the roots also arrived here. Lord Danzo. Quick, protect Lord Danzo. Where are the intruders? These root ninjas who arrived instantly protected Danzo behind them, and at the same time scanned around, looking for traces of the intruder. However, Danzo found with a confused face that the group of root ninjas under him were actually facing the person standing in front of him. This man in the Uzumaki mask turned a blind eye. Asshole! People are in front of you. Danzo yelled angrily. But the root ninjas around him looked at Danzo with confused expressions. Right in front? But there was nothing in front of him. Ryusuke Yagami looked at the scene with a smile. He had just used the kaleidoscope in my left eye to cast an illusion to confuse these root ninjas, but deliberately missed Danzo, and found that the effect was indeed much better than before. It's you. Did you do this? Danzo doesn't believe that these people under him would tease him, so this can only be caused by the man in the Uzumaki mask in front of him. Yes, it's me, what can you do? Ryusuke Yagami changed his voice and said. Hateful. Danzo clenched his fists. He had never wanted to kill someone so much as he does now. Everyone, release your ninjutsu in the direction of my finger. Danzo doesn't care anymore. Even if he destroys this archives room, he will kill the hateful Uzumaki mask man in front of him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 79. But Danzo-sama, this is the archives room. If you use ninjutsu. Shut up. Duinzo looked at the root ninja with one eye fiercely. The latter was so frightened that he immediately lowered his head and did not dare to say a word. Do as I say. Danzo said in a deep voice, then pointed forward. Now, let me attack that side. The ninja at the root did not dare to question, and immediately released ninjutsu in the direction of Danzo's finger according to Danzo's order. A series of fire attacks, wind attacks, and thunder attacks hit the area in front of him. Danzo laughed and looked at it. As the man in the Uzumaki mask was swallowed up by these ninjutsu, he vaguely seemed to see the scene of the man being blown to pieces. Let you go against me, I am Danzo Shimura. Danzo said with a proud smile. But at this moment, Danzo-sama, what did you see that makes you smile so happily? A familiar voice suddenly remembered in Danzo's ears. What? Danzo jumped away. Then he looked at the unharmed Uzumaki mask man standing in front of him with a look of disbelief. Lord Danzo. The surrounding root ninjas couldn't see Ryosuke Yagamai at all, so they didn't know why Danzo-sama suddenly left his position and looked at him inexplicably. Stop looking, he saw me. Yagamai. Ryosuke said jokingly. Moreover, Danzo-sama, how can you be sure that the me you see now is the real me? Ah, this. Danzo understood instantly. It turned out that he, like the men around him, had also fallen into the opponent's illusion. It's just that the other party made him see an illusion created by himself deliberately, thinking that the other party was there. But in fact, the other party is not in that position at all. God knows where the other party is. Illusion, solution. Danzo formed seals desperately, trying to unlock the illusion in himself. But no matter how hard he tried, he still saw the man in the Uzumaki mask standing in front of him. This made Danzo blush. Damn Uchiha, why are Uchiha's genjutsu so powerful? Danzo cursed, hating Uchiha's genjutsu ability for the first time. He clearly liked this when he still had the other god, but now. Tisk tisk. Danzo 457 Sama is at his wit's end. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at Danzo, who was already sitting on the wax, with a smile. To be honest, except for the fact that this old guy Danzo has a way of doing things behind his back, his strength is really not that good. In fact, he is even at the cage level. Water. Maybe if we push it forward for more than 10 years, Danzo's strength is still at the level of cage. But now, Danzo, who has not practiced as a ninja for so many years and has not fought against many people, can still maintain his strength? Was it cage level strength in the past? Obviously not. This is why, in the future battle with Sasuke, he will repeatedly make all kinds of suffocating moves. To put it bluntly, it's just that he hasn't fought for too long, and he has completely forgot how to fight. Although Danzo now is not as good as Sabi a few years later, he is not much different. When in danger, he only knows to ask his subordinates to protect him. How can such a person be called strong? He's just a villain with a dark heart. You are so weak. Danzo, your strength disappoints me so much, so I plan to give you a big gift so you don't have to thank me. Ryosuke Yagamai suddenly raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a sly smile. Although Danzo couldn't see the expression on his face, he knew from the voice that the other party obviously had evil intentions. Damn it! What you up to? Danzo was so frightened that he backed away repeatedly, letting his root ninja protect him tightly. Don't waste your efforts, it's useless. Ryosuke Yagamai said with a smile. In fact, he was hanging upside down from the ceiling at this time. The him that Danzo saw was just a phantom in his eyes. In fact, there was nothing there at all. This at that moment. Ryosuke Yagami looked at Danzo below and directly activated the pupil technique in his right eye. The pupil technique was reversed. The next second, Danzo was horrified to find that his body began to undergo terrible changes. First of all, his chest muscles began to swell, and then he found that the component of his that had not been used for many years also disappeared and could not be felt. Then, his hands and feet began to shrink, and even his height became shorter. His hair began to grow, and his Adam's apple began to grow. Disappeared. In just a few seconds. Danzo was horrified to find that he seemed to have turned into a woman. To be precise, an elderly woman. Mirror. Give me a mirror. Danzo shouted in horror. However, he found that his voice had changed and became shrill. It was completely a woman's voice. Baga. What on earth is going on? The surrounding root ninjas were stunned. They looked back at Danzo-sama, who was firmly protected by them and others. How come in a blink of an eye, Danzo-sama turned into Ms. Danzo? At this time, a root ninja subconsciously took out a small mirror from his pocket and handed it to Danzo. Danzo took it and looked at himself in the mirror. Although his face was bandaged, Danzo could still see that his appearance had completely changed. He became a woman. And he was still an ugly old woman in her 60s or 70s. This is not me. Danzo was so frightened that he dropped the mirror in his hand, as if he was about to collapse. Danzo-sama, how is this going? Are you really Danzo-sama? The root ninjas under her also looked at her hesitantly. If the curse mark on her body hadn't told them that the person in front of them was their Lord Danzo. To be honest, they would have been unable to distinguish this ugly old woman from her. Danzo-sama got in touch with each other. At this time, Danzo suddenly formed a seal with his hands and cast a transformation technique, turning himself into his original appearance. Fortunately, the transformation technique is still useful. Danzo is now particularly glad that he has not forgotten how to use the transformation technique. Although he has not used this thing for more than 10 or 20 years. But the muscle memory he developed in the past is still there. Otherwise, he would always can't she really show up like this woman? Especially when she goes to see Sarutobi Hiruzen, she can't keep that look, right? What will Sarutobi Hiruzen think? Danzo became the seventh a man who has been a man for more than 10 years suddenly no longer wants to be a man? Want to change his gender? When he thinks of the expression on Hiruzen's face when the time comes, Danzo is so embarrassed that he can't help but want to commit seppuku. Danzo, I hope you like this gift I gave you. Ryosuke Yagami smiled, and then left the archive room that had been burned down. There are still a lot of good things in the roots. Not to mention the biological pheromones on these root ninjas, just the ninjutsu they collected, it was worth the trip for Ryosuke Yagami. Not to mention, tonight Ryosuke Yagami also robbed another god of his pupil technique. He also turned Danzo into Grandma Danzo. I wonder if Danzo will be able to do it in the future. Will you have nightmares? Ryosuke Yagami packed up the ninjutsu scrolls collected by Neb. He didn't leave any of them for them, and they were all taken away by Beb. During the whole process, Neb, who was patrolled by the hiding order, followed. They didn't notice what he had done at all. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. By the time they discovered that all these ninjutsu scrolls had disappeared, Yagami Ryosuke had already gone home to sleep. Tonight, he has gained too much. There are as many as 50 or 60 Jounin level biopheromones alone. In other words, there are at least 50 or 60 Jounin at the root. Among them, there are many elite Jounin. And then there are for Chuyunin, there are as many as 200 to 300 copies. There is also a biopheromone from Danzo. I wonder what kind of talent entries this thing can be converted into? But even if it is rubbish, how can you say Danzo's status? It's there. In addition, there is an existence known as the darkness of the ninja world. At least it must be a purple talent entry, right? Not to mention other things, even if it is used to decompose, you can get 1000 experience points. It's like picking it up for free. Don't waste your experience points. The next day, Ryosuke Yagami had breakfast at home in the morning, then said goodbye to his mother Mizuki Yagami, put on the Umbu uniform and went to Umbu to clock in for work. Today's mission is still patrolling. But it's not inspection. The barrier on the outside of the village was replaced by a patrol inside the village. On the roof of a house, Yagami Ryosuke and several people from Team 7 squatted here, observing the passers-by below. Checking to see if there is any suspicious guy hanging around. Did you hear that? Something seemed to have happened at the Genbi last night. In the middle of the night, a large group of Genbi ninjas were looking for someone in the base. It seemed that their base had been invaded and a lot of ninjutsu scrolls were taken away. Tengu suddenly started gossiping at this time and talked about a breaking news he heard. Are the roots invaded? Who is so bold? Black Teeth and Shadow both looked at him and asked in surprise. Captain Uzuki Zen's eyes glanced towards Yagami Ryosuke. Out of a woman's sixth sense, she felt that this matter was very close. It was Yagami Ryosuke who did it. Moreover, if others don't know, Uzuki Yujeo will not know Yagami Ryosuke's strength. Invading the roots does not seem to be a difficult thing for Yagami Ryosuke. That is, after the invasion, he didn't blow up the entire route, which somewhat surprised Uzuki Zen. Black Fang and the others listened to the Tengu talking about the roots being invaded yesterday night. On the other side, in the Hokage's office, the third Hokage Hiruzen also called Danzo and asked him personally about yesterday night's situation. Hiruzen, what do you want from me? Danzo opened the door and came in, looking in a very bad mood. Sarutobi Hiruzen also knew that Danzo must be in a bad mood at the moment, so he went straight to the point and planned to ask about the intruder. He suspected that the ninja who invaded the route was most likely the mysterious man who released a wide range of ninjutsu outside the village some time ago. But as soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen opened his mouth to ask Danzo about this, he discovered that Danzo in front of him had actually used a transformation technique. As a veteran cage-level powerhouse, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen is old and his eyes are dim, it is impossible not to see traces of the transformation technique. So he immediately slapped the table and stood up. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be Danzo? Brush. Brush. In an instant, 5 or 6 Umbu appeared in the office. They surrounded Danzo. Danzo, who looked calm on the surface, could no longer help but curse in his heart. Damn the Uchiha clan. Sure enough, they are the evil clan that the teacher said, and they can use such evil ninjutsu. Is there anyone more evil than this in the world? Danzo cursed in his mind. Yesterday, he tried various methods, but he couldn't change himself back to his original appearance. Then Sarutobi Hiruzen summoned him at this time. He couldn't shirk it, and had no choice, he had no choice but to endure the transformation technique. Danzo knew that Hiruzen Sarutobi would see traces of the transformation technique on his body. After all, if you can't even see this, then Sarutobi Hiruzen is really a waste. Really? As soon as he came in, his old friend discovered the traces of the transformation technique on his body. Hiruzen, don't get excited, I am not pretending to be someone else. Danzo said as calmly as possible. Let these Umbu go down first, and I will tell you the reason for doing so. Danzo thought very well. Even if he wants to be embarrassed, he can only let Sarutobi Hiruzen see it. These Umbu, absolutely not. What a pity. He muttered how afraid of death Sarutobi Hiruzen was. He didn't believe what Danzo said, and he didn't ask these Umbu to retreat. Instead, he asked Danzo to cancel the transformation technique immediately, otherwise he would order these Umbu to take him down. No, Hiruzen, please listen to my explanation. Danzo was anxious. He didn't want the Umbu to know that he had turned into a woman. God knows if they would spread the news. By then, would he be able to stay in this village? The society is dead. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 80. Get him for me. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't listen to Danzo's explanation. The man in front of him dared to pretend to be Danzo and use a deformed technique like transformation. Did he think that Sarutobi Hiruzen had become so dim? Do you think he can't even see a mere transformation technique? That's right. He will indeed get nosebleeds from Naruto's weird transformation technique. But that's because the visual impact is too strong. It's not that he really couldn't tell that Naruto used the transformation technique. But he could see that even Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't see the true appearance of the caster through the transformation technique. Just Naruto the power of that technique. Which man doesn't get a nosebleed after watching it? The Umbu in the Hokage's office, under the order of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, instantly killed the intruder in the encirclement. Danzo. I'm a fool. Did I hear that? Danzo cursed angrily with a dark face. He quickly launched a counterattack. There's no way, he can't just be captured, can he? As soon as he saw Danzo fighting back, Sarutobi Hiruzen became even more certain that the other party was approaching him with some evil plot. So, Sarutobi Hiruzen directly summoned more Umbu, saying that he would arrest this intruder who dared to disguise himself as Danzo no matter what. Boom! Danzo was beaten so hard that he broke through the window of the Hokage's office, jumped down from the building, and landed in the open space outside the Hokage's building. At this time, after receiving the news, the Umbu and many ninjas nearby also rushed here. Even Kakashi-ban, who was originally here to take over the mission, was among them. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, you stand back, this is not a battle you can participate in. Kakashi said with a serious face. At the same time, he pulled up his forehead protector and revealed the Sharingan. Kakashi-sensei, what's wrong with your eyes? Is it pink eye? Naruto pointed at Kakashi's Sharingan with an innocent look. He didn't know what a Sharingan was, so he thought Kakashi had pink eye or something, so he had to cover it all day long. That eye? Kakashi. You call the Sharingan pink eye? In other words, the Uchiha clan is gone, otherwise they will be beaten into pig heads in minutes. Kakashi, how come you have the Sharingan of our Uchiha clan? Sasuke also looked at Kakashi's eye in surprise. Of course he would not think it was pink eye like Naruto. He himself had opened the single Magatama's Sharingan, so it was clear that this was a 3-eye. Magatama's Sharingan. But, Kakashi is not from the Uchiha clan, his surname is Hatake. How come they have the Sharingan of their Uchiha clan? This matter we'll talk about it later. Now deal with this intruder. Kakashi didn't have time to explain his eye to Sasuke. After he said something, he rushed forward with the other ninjas. At this time, Danzo was already cursing in his heart. He was unexpectedly killed by his own village. The ninjas were under siege. Unfortunately, he could not remove the transformation technique from his body and explain that he was really Danzo, not an intruder. Seeing that more and more ninjas were coming around, Danzo was even more afraid to remove his transformation skills. Shenju. Damn Uchiha, I hate you. At this time, Danzo's hatred for the Uchiha clan has reached an unprecedented level. At this moment, Kakashi with a Sharingan appeared in front of him. Danzo didn't even think about it, and just released his maximum power of wind escape, and only stared at Kakashi alone, chasing after him. Kakashi. Does this guy have any grudge against me? Why are everyone attacking you, but you only focus on me? You are so sick. Kakashi, I will always help you. Konoha's powerful whirlwind. A green figure rushed up at a very fast speed and instantly kicked Danzo away, who was chasing Kakashi. Danzo felt that his arm was almost numb. Fortunately, at this time, his other arm, a wave of warmth came up, which quickly restored his arm. Danzo looked up and saw another guy who made him speechless. A green jumpsuit, the iconic watermelon head, and that his big white teeth were almost blinding him. Metkai. This precious beast was here too. Danzo felt miserable. But he couldn't tell the real situation. Damn Hiruzen, why don't you believe what I say? Danzo complained to Hiruzen Sarutobi in his heart. Originally, this matter was quite simple. As long as Hiruzen Sarutobi had just asked those Umbu to retreat, he would naturally remove the transformation technique and tell Hiruzen Sarutobi the truth. Although that would it's embarrassing in front of his old friends. But Danzo can't care about that much. It's better to be embarrassed in front of one person than in front of the whole village, right? But who would have thought that things would go in a direction that he didn't expect at all? It developed. Danzo was so angry. Yo! Naruto Sasuke, you are here too. Oh, and Sakura. Ryosuke Yagamai, who was wearing an Umbu uniform, also arrived here with Umbu Team 7, and then saw Naruto and the others standing on the edge watching the battle. So he went over to say hello. Who are you, Ryosuke? Naruto looked at Ryosuke Yagamai's appearance in surprise. He had never seen Ryosuke Yagamai wearing an Umbu uniform. Yeah, but you have to call me Yayu now. This is my code name in Umbu. Ryosuke Yagamai nodded. Yayu, what's going on over there? Sasuke quickly accepted Ryosuke Yagamai's appearance and immediately asked out of curiosity. Because Ryosuke Yagamai is a member of Umbu, Sasuke thought he would know some inside information that they didn't know. I've just arrived, so I don't know what's going on there. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and spread his hands. However, in fact, he probably already guessed it in his heart. Because the guy who was being besieged at this time was really Danzo Shimura. It was not an intruder pretending to be an intruder. It's just that Danzo didn't dare to show his current true appearance. After all, Taisha would be dead if he did that. If you think about it from another position, if Yagamai Ryosuke were in Danzo's position, he would not be able to remove the transformation technique even to death. Compared to death in society, he would rather choose to fight all the way out of the village. Of course, Ryosuke Yagamai has this strength. But Danzo, forget it. At this moment, he was almost beaten into a dog by Kakashi and Metkai. I won't tell you anymore, I'm going to help. Ryosuke Yagamai felt that he had to help Danzo. For example, let him get out of the predicament he was in, and then experience what it means to die in society. Brush. Ryosuke Yagamai drew out his ninja sword and rushed forward. He and the others, like the members of Umbu, they assisted Kakashi and Metkai in front to besiege Danzo. However, Ryosuke Yagamai cast an illusion when others did not notice. The target was Danzo in the encirclement. At this time, Danzo Zang happened to be pierced through the heart by Kakashi's thunder cutter. But just when everyone thought that the target had been solved, the corpse on the ground with the heart pierced suddenly disappeared. Then another Danzo appeared again. What kind of weird ninjutsu is this? Where has everyone present seen this kind of ninjutsu that can bring the dead back to life? Or, is this some kind of illusion? In fact, the other party is not dead at all. The person who died is just a substitute. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. No matter what, as long as the target is still alive, they can't stop. Just when Kakashi was about to let Metkai hold the opponent back and use Raikiri again, Danzo suddenly shouted. Stop! Hiruzen, tell your people to stop immediately, I will remove the transformation technique right now. Danzo looked at his bandaged arm distressedly. Others couldn't see it, but he knew that there was a Sharingan on it that had been closed forever and could no longer be used. This is a life. Zhang Na felt heartbroken. So he felt that he couldn't go on like this. Even if he risked his life, he had to explain it clearly to Hiruzen. If he delayed it any longer, he didn't know how many Sharingan he would lose. Even, he might die at the hands of these ninjas from his own village. But what Danzo didn't know, the reason why he figured it out so quickly was because of Yagami Ryosuke's illusion. After hearing Danzo's words, Saru Hiruzen also walked to the front surrounded by a group of Konoha ninjas. "Everyone stop!" Sarutobi Hiruzen said loudly. Then he looked at Danzo in the circle and frowned. "You can now remove the polymorph spell." Duanzang gritted his teeth in hatred, but he had to do as he was told. He couldn't. He really died here, right? Hiruzen, wait. You don't have long to live. When you die, I will take good care of your family. Danzo really hates Hiruzen Sarutobi this time. If this guy didn't trust him, things wouldn't be like this. This time, Danzo Shimura is dead. From now on, he will when he goes out again, he doesn't dare to go out with his true appearance. If there is a meeting with Konoha's top management, Danzo will even want to find some excuse to refuse. Otherwise, he is afraid that everyone will see his joke. Hiruzen, I would like to ask you one last time, can you let these people leave? Danzo tried to make a final struggle. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen just responded to him with a cold look. Impossible, no discussion. Danzo gave up. He stopped struggling. Let society die. The next second, Danzo removed the transformation technique from his body and returned to his true appearance. The clothes were still the same, the bandages were still the same bandages, but he was this person. Phew. Among the crowd, I don't know who couldn't hold it back and laughed. Who? Who is it? Danzo glanced around with one eye as if spitting fire, looking for the source of the laughter. Yagami Ryosuke, who was hidden in the crowd, was facing the looks of several people next to him, with a look of "it's none of my business, that's right." He was the one who laughed out loud just now. I couldn't help it, it was so funny. He couldn't hold it back. On the other side, Hiruzen Sarutobi also looked at the big change with a shocked face. Such Danzo. In fact, when many ninjas besieged Danzo just now, Sarutobi Hiruzen discovered that this guy's fighting style was almost exactly the same as Danzo in his memory, and the various ninjutsu he used were also what Danzo was good at. If the opponent hadn't been bitten to death and refused to remove the transformation technique, Sarutobi Hiruzen would have been willing to believe that the opponent was Danzo. But now, seeing Danzo like this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly understood why he refused to kill Danzo. I am willing to remove the transformation technique. If it were him, he would not be willing. No wonder, Danzo wanted to talk to him alone again and again before. This is the reason for the relationship. Danzo, what are you doing? Although Sarutobi Hiruzen understood the reason, he still couldn't figure out how Danzo became like this. He was obviously fine 2 days ago. Could it be that the recovery from surgery is so fast now? It was the intruder yesterday. Danzo said through gritted teeth. The person he hates most now is the intruder, followed by Hiruzen Sarutobi in front of him. One of them made him look like this. The other made him die in public in the village. Everyone should die 10,000 times. Intruder? The one who took away those ninjutsu scrolls from your roots? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Danzo nodded. To be honest, he didn't care about the ninjutsu scrolls at all. Compared to what happened to him, what are some ninjutsu scrolls? So you haven't tried to undo this? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought that Danzo was possessed by some evil secret technique. But there should be a way to remove it. No secret technique can be completely unsolvable. But Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know that this was not a secret technique, but the kaleidoscope eye technique. And coincidentally, Ryosuke Yagami's kaleidoscope eye technique is really unsolvable. I've tried everything I can think of, to no avail. Danzo said with a gloomy face. In fact, he had already guessed that he should be struck by the Mangekyo eye technique. But he couldn't figure out why the Uchiha clan's Mangekyo Sharinan had such an unorthodox eye technique. Who will tell him what kind of heart he has to awaken this kind of pupil technique?